it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So, have you ever wanted to learn a new life skill? Have you ever tried to learn a new life skill? And if you have, you probably realise how difficult that is. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to learn new life skills when you are asexual. But this advice applies pretty much to anyone in general. So there will be a few specific things to being asexual, but a lot of it you could apply whatever sexuality you are. So if you didn't know who I am, I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of Awesome Asexual Perspectives best-selling book on Amazon, and Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual 78 Life Lessons to Asexual Life. So go and grab copies of those. Let's get on with the show. So, yes, life skills. Now, what are life skills? You can have different types of life skills, and sometimes skills overlap. So, for example, communication skills could be considered a life skill, or it could be considered even a career skill, a business skill, right? So you need certain life skills in order to succeed in multiple aspects of your life. So this is why it's important. So life skills could be communication, organizational skills, productivity skills, time management skills. These are life skills that we're not usually taught in school or even college for that matter a lot of the time, and probably not even university as well for most of us, right? These are skills that are not taught. How to make money online is not taught as well. You could say that's a life skill or a business skill. And things like spirituality, if you're spiritual or not, this type of thing, that could be considered a life skill if you're into spirituality, if you're a spiritual person. But in general, life skills relate to things like I've said, communication skills, time management skills, productivity, organization, relationships as well, building relationships, maintaining and sustaining relationships. This can come under life skills as well. These are things that we're not taught in school usually, and a lot of the time we go through our life and we're quite oblivious to some of this. Like, obviously, with school, college, or uni, you might have had to learn some way of effectively managing your time, or you just tried to manage your time by doing what you wanted, as in studying when you felt like it, not studying when you didn't, or not studying at all, or rushing around at the last minute to study, this type of thing. So time management was all over the place. There's also some skills you can learn in terms of relationships. You can learn how to obviously have healthier relationships, have healthier communication, have healthier conflict resolution, which can apply to both personal relationships and friendships and romantic relationships and also business relationships. So there's a lot of life skills you can have that relate to multiple different types of parts of your life. And money, how to manage money is another one. How to budget correctly, how to, save money. All these type of things are life skills that are very, very valuable. How to foster self-love, how to appreciate yourself more, how to self-love more, how to grow in confidence. These are life skills. And so what we have to remember, it's not our fault that we don't know these skills, because we're not usually taught a lot of these skills in school, in college, or university. So we can't know what we don't know. So what I want you to do in terms of life skill management is, one, to recognize that it's not your fault if you haven't learned a lot of these valuable skills yet. It might be that you're a lot older than university age. It might be that you're not in your 20s anymore. You might be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s and still learning life skills or new life skills that you never even really thought about. There are people, for example, in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club that I'm part of, that are, like 50s, 60s. There's a range of people in there. So there are people that are like retirement age in there as well. learning about different things to do with relationships and confidence building, meeting new people, dating, all this type of thing. And so no matter what age you're at, I want you to know that it's okay to start learning new life skills at any point in your life, at any age. And it's okay to admit that you don't know many life skills in a specific area of your life. Now, in terms of relationships, for the asexuals that are not sex repulsed, it's possible to learn how to have sex if you are a sex positive asexual and want to try sex. Sex is a skill that can be learnt, right? Most people do not know how to have sex, believe it or not, when they, unless they've read books about it or watched channels about it. So it doesn't come, despite what people think, it doesn't come naturally to have this amazing, perfect sex straight away or to get it right straight away. So although, like I said, this applies to if you're sex positive, it's important to know that sex is a skill that can be learned, because I know there's some asexuals in the asexual community that are sex positive or even sex neutral, don't mind whether they have sex or not, and they want to try sex and they don't have a clue what they're doing. My Asexual Guide to Sex book I am finishing, by the way, for those people. I've been working on it for over 5 years and I need to finish it this year. So I'm going to be doing the Asexuality book finishing that I'm currently working on. Then I'm going to be finishing my Diary Confessions workbook, which I was working on before that, then Asexual Guide to Sex. So I've got 3 books to get out soon this year. And so it's all good. All the books are very relevant to asexuals. Even the Asexual Guide to Sex book, some people who are not interested in sex or asexual will still get benefit from it if they like just reading about that type of thing to kind of for knowledge. Some people do like that. So if you're not a sex repulsed asexual, then sex is a skill that can also be learned. And if you're not romantic, even, you can learn how to be romantic, even if you're not by nature romantic, right? Romance and being romantic with someone is a skill you can learn. Now, if you're an aromantic who's romantic repulsed, you're probably not going to want to know about romance because you're like, ugh, that repulses me. But there are some people on the aromantic spectrum, or aromantic as most people pronounce it, those that lack romantic attraction. There are some that still want to know how to learn how to be romantic and what romance is, even if they don't want to do it themselves. Even if they don't experience romantic attraction themselves, right? Some might actually learn it or want to know about it just for purposes of knowledge. Other asexuals who are aromantic might want to learn how to be romantic, even if they're not by nature romantic. So how to have romantic behavior. So don't forget, behavior and attraction are 2 separate things. So some people who are on the asexual spectrum and sex positive, they could learn how to have sex because it's a skill that can be learned. Those people who are on the aromantic spectrum, who lack romantic attraction but who are romantic positive, they could learn how to do romantic things despite not feeling romantic attraction, because being romantic with someone is a skill you can learn, right? Some people don't realize this. These are skills you can learn just like anything. Being romantic is something that doesn't necessarily come natural for people. That's why there's books on it, right? If everyone knew how to be romantic, even the people that probably would class themselves as romantic, if those people knew how to do that, there wouldn't be books on Amazon teaching people how to be romantic, how to date correctly, or how to do online dating. That's a skill, a 21st century skill, right? You know what I mean? So all these type of things are like different life skills that you could have or gain. So first of all, like I said, I want you to be kind to yourself and know that if you don't know these things, no matter what age you are, it's okay to not know these things. We're not usually taught a lot of these things in school, colleges, or universities. And then when we leave uni, we get a job, like a 9 to 5 employed job or whatever. They're not exactly going to teach us all these different types of life skills. They'll only teach us what's relevant to the job. They might not even do that. It might be like, here you go. Like if you're a cook, here's an apron, make this food. Start by washing up first. Watch how other people do the cooking and just go on with it. Or if there is someone who's really low on staff, they'll tell you to do a job that you're probably unqualified for. You got to just muck in with everyone else. They don't even teach you properly. So in terms of management, realize and acknowledge, first of all, the things you don't know. And secondly, is be kind to yourself, no matter what age you are, that it's okay you don't know these things because you weren't taught them or you were taught very little about them, right? Third thing to remember is there's always something new and more to learn about any topic, any subject. There's always somewhere you can go, like on YouTube or reading a book or talking to someone that can actually give you extra information on that topic. Heather, like still learning technology. Hi, Sandra. Yes, like still learning technology, Heather. That's a very important one. Like still some people who are retired are really good at technology, others aren't, for example. And so, you know, it's very important that we understand it's not our fault. We weren't taught a lot of these things, and to obviously recognize what we are lacking in our knowledge. Now, sometimes we don't know everything we're lacking in knowledge about because we don't know what we don't know. So it might only be as life and time goes on that we can actually recognize the things that we're lacking by situations maybe that even cause us adversity, for example. So, for example, if you have a problem being on time because you haven't got time management skills, you could be late to work a lot of the time and you get fired, right? So now you know, oh my God, I've got a problem with time management. I'm supposed to clock in at a certain time. I didn't do it like 3 days in a row. I'm called into the office, and the week after I'm late as well, and I get sacked. I get fired just like that, you know? And now I know I've got a problem with time management, but I don't really understand time management. You know, maybe you came from a family where no one was asking you to get back on a certain time. That could be for multiple reasons. It could be that you had two working parents who are so busy in their own work in life. Could be that you had neglectful parents who really didn't give a toss about where you were. These type of things, like everything that you lack in your life might be as a result of circumstances years ago in your childhood, for example. If you don't have great communication skills, that might be because you come from a family background that maybe wasn't good with communication. It was a family that didn't want to talk about things. It was all hush hush, keep things secret, keep things private, and they didn't foster open, honest communication between the members of your family. So therefore, you've got a problem with communicating with others, which isn't your fault, but you have to recognize where you're lacking in this information. It doesn't mean to say you're lacking as a person. It means you're just lacking information that you need to know to better yourself, to get on better in life with different people in different situations, right? So we have to understand that lacking something is not a personal thing against us. Like it's not like our value and worth is lacking as a person. It means that we're lacking information. However, once you become more knowledgeable, you do tend to become higher in value towards yourself and to others as a natural byproduct of that. So if you don't know what I mean by that, like if you learn more and more things, then you grow in confidence. So your value and self-worth tends to go up because you're growing your self-confidence, you're growing your self-esteem, and therefore you are becoming happier as a person usually because you've got these skills you didn't have before, and it gives you like a greater sense of inner confidence and self-esteem. Does that make sense? And also, the more knowledge you know, the more things you know, then you can help more people. So the value of your skill worth goes up, if you like. It's like when you're applying for jobs, the more you have on your resume or CV, the more different jobs you can apply for, right? Heather, my mum was a nurse and she taught us to be early. Oh, your mum was a nurse and she taught you to be early. That's very good. So you never in a rush. That is really good, Heather. I didn't know that about your mum being a nurse. So yeah, Heather says that her mum was a nurse and she was taught us, presume your family, to be early so you never need to rush. I think that's a really good time management skill to learn. A really good time management skill to learn. And especially if you have anxiety, actually, because being late can make you really anxious. And if you just learn to be there before time, then it's really important. So I know in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club that I'm doing at the moment, he said instead of turning up somewhere on time, try and turn up earlier, because also you can meet new people as well that way. You can meet other people that get out earlier and have a chance to talk to other people more, rather than when a ton of people come, you have more opportunities to speak to other people, different people that you might not speak to later on. So I think it's a very, very good point. Thank you, Heather, for that. So I appreciate you sharing. So yeah, so life skills are things that we need to know that we don't know, or things we need to know more about. And I have to say that just because you start realizing you lack in knowledge, doesn't mean to say it's going to be easy to learn that thing. If your natural nature is not in keeping with the thing you're learning, it's going to make it a lot more harder to learn that thing. Now, you could say you can just focus on all the things that you want to learn that you lack knowledge about, and that'll be easier. But you might need essential skills that'll maybe be harder to learn, but it'll be easier to be in life in the long term. So there's a saying that is, if you do the hard work, your life will be easier. But if you do easy work, your life will be harder. And that can apply to learning life skills, because if you choose just to learn the easy life skills, such as how to use a knife and fork, for example, instead of learning how to cook for yourself, then that's going to be better. I don't like cooking. I can't stand cooking, but I have to cook because it's a life skill I need to use when I live on my own. I can't, if I eat junk food all the time, my body's just going to be really poorly, right? So I need to learn that skill. Heather, you can see beautiful thing and relax better. If you turn up earlier, you can see beautiful things and relax better. That's really nice, Heather. It's a shame you weren't on the chat last night. I did bring up a bit of about timekeeping, and someone in chat said that they weren't good at time management at all. But I was talking about, when you make friends, you need to be on time for them, because you need to respect their time, not just your own. So, I think that's really good at you seeing the benefits, because you were taught that way, of being early, and which is to never be in a rush, and you can see beautiful things and relax better. I think that's really beautiful, Heather. Thank you for being here. You're teaching us some life skills, more life skills on time management here. This is fantastic. I appreciate you being here. Lots of love. I always appreciate you. Heather's a very good artist, by the way, people. Just in case you didn't know that. So this is incredible. Thank you, Heather. So yeah, so we have to understand that sometimes it requires us to put harder work into learning skills that might seem really difficult, but long term it will be better. So we might be struggling right now in the moment. It might cause us a lot of adversity, friction, maybe in our life, a bit of stress, more stress than we'd like. But by being persistent and consistent and keeping learning that thing, then we will excel in that thing and become more of an expert in it. So I can give you an example actually of a skill I learned, which you could say it's more of a work skill than a life skill. But like I said, I believe a lot of life and work skills overlap. So I went to the Apple Mac store and I had one-to-one tuition on how to use iMovie, which is a video, can't speak tonight, video editing software, which is built into Mac. So it took me 6 months of one-to-one tuition to learn how to use iMovie for Mac, because my brain finds it hard sometimes to learn new things. I don't know, I was never I was never in school with special needs or anything like that. But it's strange because I did find out though this is a fibromyalgia thing. I didn't really know where this came from. But I have fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. And also I have anxiety. So it can affect the way you take in information and process it. Both of those things can actually. But I have a problem sometimes taking in new information and learning it. It won't sink in straight away. I have to hear it and read it and see it multiple times. So if you have got any learning disabilities or learning difficulties or hidden disabilities like fibromyalgia or anxiety that do affect how you learn and process information. Some people actually have information processing difficulties as a special need as well. If you've got any of these things, you just have to be patient with yourself and understanding with yourself to know that it's going to take you longer than it would do someone else to learn certain skills, right? It's just the way your brain works. And so my brain, when it's new information that I haven't heard before, that I don't know anything about, it can take a while for my brain to process it. And it has to usually be told to me or taught to me in a certain type of way for me to best receive it. I learn more through video than I do any other form of learning. So video is my first choice usually, and then written stuff, and then audio. So that's how I learn. So I've actually got a teacher training qualification, and I know some people learn visually, auditorily from the ears, and some people like the theory, reading it when it's written out as well. So it's good to like encompass all these different types of things if you can when you're teaching, because people learn in different ways and some people like a combination of 2 or 3 of them. So I learn best through also one-to-one tuition, like one-to-one with a person going through with me step by step. You do this, you do that. But it took me the whole 6 months. It wasn't till the second to last lesson that I fully understood how to use iMovie. My brain just didn't get it. I think it was probably the way it was explained to me, but my brain understands it now. I'm really good at iMovie. I mean, I don't tend to do video editing much on this channel because I like raw, real, authentic video footage. I don't like just editing my videos. And I want, I put out so much content that it would just take me too long to perfectly edit a video, and I'd rather put out more content for my viewers here than just say one video. I know a lot of channels should do one video a week that's quite polished and edited, but I personally prefer overall to, be here with you now. So the point was of me telling you that is 6 months is a long time, I think, to learn a new skill. But I didn't know anything about that skill. And some people might just learn iMovie in a week. But it took me 6 months of one-to-one tuition. It wasn't until the second to last lesson that I understood it. And by the last lesson, I was teaching the guy who was my instructor from the Apple Mac store how I was using iMovie. And he said there's features on there that he didn't even know existed that he's not used before. So I was like teaching the teacher. So once I get it, I can become like an expert in it. I can become really good and competent in it. But my point is, it took me 6 months. Now, some people would have given up. What you have to do when you're learning a new skill is give yourself time, give yourself patience and understanding that it's going to take time to learn a new skill, and that, you're not going to be comparing yourself to other people. Do not do that. Because I know there's some people who learn iMovie and it probably take them 10 minutes. Others a week. Me, it took 6 months, right? And I could be really hard on myself. But the fact of the matter is, that is 6 months that other people might not have even attempted to do. They might not even know how to use iMovie because they don't have the patience, or they would have thought, oh no, I can't learn it. I can't consistently, persistently keep going to one-to-one tuition and have this drummed into me. I should know it by now. I'm going to quit, right? I'm not a quitter. You've got to be determined to see the thing through, even if it's difficult for you. Why? Because your life will be better in some way by learning these new skills, by learning these new things in life. Obviously, if you really, really hate something, like say you're learning how to play an instrument, you really hate it, it's not giving you pleasure or joy, then of course, yes, you can quit it. Right? But at least give yourself a chance of learning like the basics. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself a chance. And that's not the same as like essential life skills. There are essential life skills. Like you could say iMovie is not an essential life skill, right? It's more of a work skill. And it's more of a career skill, more of an online skill, right? But if we take something like time management, this is a universal life skill that applies to every aspect of your life. It applies to your own life for managing your time effectively and getting more stuff done and being more productive. It affects your relationships with, for example, if you live with parents or family, if they expect you to be back at a certain time under the rules of their house, if they've got their own rules, they expect you to be back at a certain time and you're not, that can cause arguments and conflicts. If you are late to work, as given in the example earlier, then you can get fired from your job. If you have no time management, then it might be that you even miss the shops being open, and therefore you end up with not having enough food in the house or not enough toilet rolls and essentials like this. It can be that you show up late to being with friends and you lose friends because of that, because they value their time and their worth, and you're not valuing their time if you turn up late. You're more preoccupied with your own life and yourself than you are thinking about them and their time, right? So time management is huge. If you go to, school, college, or uni, you still have to have a certain level of time management skills for you to be able to achieve getting some grades. So if you don't show up to exams because you can't be on time for the exams, you might have to repeat a whole year of college, for example. So time management is a universal life skill that applies to multiple aspects of your life. Some are going to be better at it than others. When you're cooking, if you don't have a timer on your cooker, I have a timer now on the one where I live, on a cooker that I bought for this place. Even though it's a big cooker, I've got a tabletop cooker, right? Actually sits on the cooker that comes with the flat. The cooker that comes with flat is rusty anyway, so I bought my own one, and that has a timer. And this is good because actually I don't like cooking, and that's probably one of my worst time management areas. So in order to improve myself on that, I've got a timer now, so I don't burn anything, because that is one area that I needed to improve. And you can use tools, techniques, and things to help you improve in areas. Do you know what I mean? And a timer helps. Like, some people time the amount of time they spend on a certain aspect of the work. They time block. So you can time block is an effective time management strategy where you say, from this hour to this hour, I'm just focusing on this one task. That's it. I don't do anything else. Time blocking. For this period of time, I don't have my phone switched on, so I can't be distracted by my phone. For this period of time, I don't look at my emails. But then you allocate other times to do that, right? This is like how you more effectively manage your time. You have to learn to be disciplined as well as part of time management. So I'm not perfect in time management every aspect of my life. Like, sometimes I do forget to light the foods in the oven, but I'm busy working, and my priority is, like, I'm working on my book, and it's like, oh, the oven's pinged off now, because I can hear it ping off a lot of the time from downstairs, but I still carry on working, and then the food's needs reheating. So, you have to understand that you're not going to be perfect at everything. But if you make incremental improvements in aspects of your life, you will see progress, and you will see more success, and you will see more better relationships with other people. Communication skills is a really interesting one, because throughout the time we're born, we're always learning on the go, if you like, about communication skills, but we're not actively learning healthy communication skills, right? We're just going along with whatever the person is doing around us. So if we come from a background of healthy family dynamics where there's healthy, open, honest communication back and forth, sharing feelings, asking the other person, like, how is this for them? Please tell me your point of view. From my point of view, it's this. How can we work on this together? If that's a healthy dynamic, you're learning healthy relationship skills. But if you come from a family background that's very shut off, very disconnected, avoidant family members, for example, then there isn't much communication going on, or certainly not much healthy communication going on. So then later in life, you have to learn those skills. And there's levels of healthy communication. There's levels of communication, right? You might just need a communication to get by. Like you go in a cafe, oh, hi, please, can I have this cake and have this cup of tea? Then there's another type of communication needed at work when you have to say to your boss, oh, I don't think I'm going to meet this deadline and the reasons why, without angering them. Then there's another level of communication when you're dating and you just start out dating. Then there's another level of communication in intimate relationships when you're trying to grow an intimate relationship or when you're trying to grow a friendship. And so, for example, with communication skills, healthy communication skills, it can be like learning a whole new language all over again. Because if you were taught the wrong way to communicate, or unhealthy behaviors of communication, or unhealthy ways to communicate, or weren't taught how to communicate, for example, in conflict, then you're going to have to like learn that. It's not really a case of relearning it. If you never knew it before, you've got to learn it. And it's like learning a whole new language. It's literally like learning things that you never knew about before. And so you have to understand that it's okay to do that, but you have to give yourself time. You know, you might have a whole life that you were running unhealthy communication styles and patterns and behaviors, or some were unhealthy. And once you start becoming self-aware of the things that are missing in terms of skills in your life, and you have to start learning them, it can literally be like being back in school. You having to start all over again in that specific area in your life that you need to learn the life skill in. And so it can be like overwhelming. So you have to break it down into manageable size chunks. So when you're learning about communication skills, first of all, it might just be learning how to share your needs. When you're learning about healthy communication skills, it might just be the fact that you're not allowed to avoid conflicts. You have to find ways of communicating in conflicts in a healthy way. That might be really hard. So communication and healthy communications is a lot to learn. And it can be like completely starting over again. Like, I want you to understand this. Like, I'm in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. Matthew Hussey is the world's #1 dating and confidence coach on YouTube. You can look him up. He's got 17 years of experience. So I've paid for a whole year's membership to his Love Life Club, which I'm learning about confidence, different more about attachment styles. I already know some about attachment styles, but more in depth about attachment styles, red flags in relationships, healthy communication, healthy responses, healthy, you know, healthy ways of asserting your boundaries and needs. And for me, like years ago, I was never advocating for my needs. I was never shown how to express my needs in situations with people. It's something I was never taught, and you're not taught this thing in school. You're just expected to either know it or just get by with not knowing it, right? So I'm learning new skills in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club now that I've not learned all these skills fully before. I'm trying to improve my communication skills. I'm trying to improve my communication with people that I come into contact with and people around me. And when I'm growing friendships and things like that. And to me, it's like learning a whole new language that I've never been taught. There's been lacking. Obviously, I know some ways of healthy communication because I have learnt them, but there's another level entirely, particularly around conflicts and not having the same needs as someone, that I'm having to now navigate and understand more about how to express my own needs, because before I would just like accept whatever the person was, which I thought was what you're supposed to do, accept someone for who they are, but without saying my needs. And actually, it's not really like that, which is quite strange. It's kind of like you have to have, you've got boundaries and needs of your own, they've got boundaries of needs of their own, but you have to kind of come to a middle ground so that you're both getting your needs met for it to be healthy. So it's kind of really hard, you know. Before I would just like go along with the other person, kind of like however they are is however they are. But I now realize that I have to like say about my needs more. And so for me, it's very difficult, actually. It's like, well, I'm not used to doing this. I didn't even know I was supposed to do this. Of course, I have needs, but I didn't know that you're supposed to express them that much. Do you know what I mean? So to me, I'm actually going through the process of like learning the next level other language. It's like you've got a bit of basic French, a few words, and then you've got to learn how to be completely fluent in it or something, or at least have a go from like the starter stage to like the beginner intermediate stage before you get to the fluent stage. You know what I mean? And so for me, it is like learning a whole new language when you're going to a new level of interpersonal communication skills. It is like learning something I've never been taught before that I should have been taught years ago, but I haven't. So I'm so grateful and thankful for being in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. I cannot tell you how much that club is helping me, and all the resources and tools I have access to, and courses and things in there. You know, I'm learning so much that it's like blowing my mind, but it can be very overwhelming. You know, and I'm thinking, why don't I naturally know this stuff? Why don't I naturally know how to react in certain situations when someone says something? I do react, but there's better ways I can react to get my own needs across and be even more thoughtful of that other person's needs. And you know, I find that difficult because I'm not used to scenarios. Because you know, when you're taught certain things in school, you're like given case scenarios, aren't you? Right? But if you've never had the skills plus the case scenarios to actually work on those skills, you don't really know what you're doing. You know, you haven't got that knowledge. So I want you to understand that if you are learning new life skills now, please do not be hard on yourself. Give yourself time and patience. And if it feels like you're learning a whole new language that you've never learned before in your life and you feel like you're back in school, I can relate, right? Because that's kind of the way I feel now. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much I need to learn about communication skills. Like, I thought I was relatively good in certain areas of that, but it's like, whoa, there's a whole nother level that you need to go up, Sandra, that you really need to improve on, that you're not so good at the moment. It's not because I necessarily always say the wrong thing. It's because I don't know the right thing to say. So I either don't say anything at all, or I say something that might not be the best thing to say. Right? So, I say something that's okay, but it's not really asserting my own needs, or like my own needs aren't even in there. And I get confused about something. I'm not asking for clarity. And that's because I don't want to say things in the wrong way to people. I want to communicate effectively. And so I feel though now that because I'm aware I've got my own needs more, and I'm more self-aware by even being in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club, that and I want to advocate for my needs more. It's more important now than ever that I learn communication skills, and more communication skills and effective communication skills, because I need to get my point across about my own needs, which I probably have not done in the past that much of. And so it's it's to me it's mind blowing. It's like I want to be able to know how to do this naturally without having to go in and use coaching tools available in the Love Life Club. I want to be able to just know what to do in different situations, but I haven't had the practice. I haven't had the knowledge to then apply to these situations. And so, without the knowledge and the practical application of the new things you learn, you're not really going to learn that much. It's not going to be instilled in your brain. In order to learn something, you really have to be doing the things, or especially if you're like an activist in the way you learn. I'm a theorist activist. So I did a test on this in one of my old jobs. So that means I usually need to know the theory of it first, the why I'm doing something, and then put it into action. That's how I learn best. And so if I don't understand the theory of why I'm doing something, I can't put it into action. And I can't action something if I don't know about the theory. I don't know how to do it or what it's about in the first place. Does that make sense? So I think you have to understand that patience is key. Take one major skill at a time. I guess I'm learning a couple more skills. One is like the communication. I'm trying to upskill and up level myself. That I think that's going to take quite a long time, because my brain doesn't naturally understand, or my brain doesn't naturally. I think understand is kind of the wrong word. My brain doesn't naturally think about these ways of talking because I was not brought up in that way. I was not taught this in school, university, or college. And there's a lot of unhealthy communication going on in the world, or avoiding communication. So, that for me, it's like I haven't been taught this stuff. And so I'm not used to it. I'm not used to this way of talking to people. I'm not used to this way of being and thinking. So for me, it's like it's almost like learning to read and write again. But I've already got a foundation, but there's loads more. There's like another level entirely. It's like a complete level all on its own, nearly. So I hope you understand kind of what I'm talking about, because it's a bit complicated. But if you've ever had to learn a new skill, if you've ever had to learn a new language and you starting from scratch, or just a few words, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's hard, you've got to know, like, especially like, for example, French, you've got to know how to speak French, listen to French, talk French, right? So it's a bit like that with the next level of communication and talking about my needs and find out the other person's needs more. It's more like, you've got to understand the person's need more, understand how you reacted to that person telling you something. Was it a good way you reacted, or was it possibly not a good way, even if you thought it was the best way to react in the time, right? When you reflect on how you speak to people, you can be like, oh, I'm not sure if that was so good after all, right? And then you can try and ask, like, what should I have done in this scenario instead? Like, what would have been a better way of phrasing what I said? What would have been a better way of approaching it? And when this happened, I was a bit confused and it didn't make sense to me. So how can I ask that person, like, for more clarity without being judgmental, without hurting their feelings, without saying something wrong? So learning all this way of effectively communicating is a complete different level entirely. It is like learning a new language that I'm not used to, and that's not my fault, because I've had patterns from years of my life where I haven't been taught this information. I've only been taught certain communication skills. I'm better than I used to be because I have like learned how to, for example, talk to someone, and if you've got an issue, you say how the behavior made you feel, rather than talking about their personal character, which is like an attack on them, right? You don't want to do that in communication. So I have learned those type of healthy communication skills. But what I'm learning in the Love Life Club is a complete different level entirely. And so I want to reassure you that if you are learning life skills that you haven't learnt before, it can be like learning a completely different new language. I often think that about asexuality, actually. It's like, being asexual and coming to the asexual community and learn all about asexuality is like talking a different language as well. Especially if you dive into all the different types of categories and subcategories. I tend to stick to the main ones in terms of what I speak about most, because you could just go on and on with all the different categories, subcategories, and new things that come out, and it can just blow people's minds. So, but when I'm talking about communication skills, like for me now, I'm trying to learn more communication skills that I was never taught. And, sometimes you run patterns of communication or patterns of behavior that is not good or could be improved upon to be more healthy. But if you don't recognize that there is a problem in the first place, you can't do anything about it. So I think, first of all, you need an awareness of how you're lacking in certain skills and you need to improve on them. And then you need to figure out how you're going to gain those skills. And obviously, you need to gain them from someone who knows what they're talking about, who's someone who's learnt those skills, someone who's good at the thing you need to get good at. And it might take you a long, long time. If I'm learning different communication skills now, more communication skills, it is literally like my brain at the moment does not naturally think about these ways. So I'm, like I said, I'm not used to a lot of the time communicating my own needs. Like if someone comes into my life, I tend to just accept them for who they are, which is important. But you've also got to talk about your own needs. So if something they do is not congruent with who you are, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, or it makes you feel unhappy or confused, and it's preying on your mind, then you have to bring it up and say something, right? And trying to effectively do that can be hard, because if you're the that, we learn patterns of behavior in life. We learn patterns of ways of being. And if we're trying to learn a new pattern to improve ourselves, it can be hard. It can be like going back to basics of being at school and learning a new language. It can be really hard. So I want you to know this, that if you're going through this type of thing yourself, or if you're worried about learning something new, it's important you know that this is normal to go through, that you can feel bewildered and lost a bit, and like you don't naturally know the thing you need to know. And if I think back now to me learning anything, including IT, which seems really weird now, modern technology, right? I mean, last year I was one of the top social media marketing voices on LinkedIn, right? So, and in 2011, I didn't even want to create a Facebook profile. I was scared to do that. So I've come on a long way. So, if I think about years ago, I didn't even think I could do IT. I thought I was completely IT illiterate and I could not use technology at all. And I didn't understand it. And that was one of my worst things. And I was really bad at it. Blah, 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 and all that stuff. Now I'm the opposite, right? I know a lot about information technology, social media, IT, all that type of thing, right? And being given the title last year of social media marketing voice. I mean, it's not on my profile anymore because you get granted it when you answer certain questions, and that after a time it goes off your profile. But it's like answering your expertise in social media questions, social media marketing it was. So what I'm trying to say here is, you might think you're not good at a particular area in life, and it might be that you hardly know anything. But I do want you to know that it's okay if you're in that position. The fact that you've even recognized that you need to learn something is really important. It's really good to have this self-awareness and then to grow from there and say, okay, why can't I get a course, a book, some knowledge, a mentor, a coach, a trainer, a teacher where I can learn this type of thing? Who can I learn from? It's good to learn from someone who's actually got the experience. There's a lot of books, for example, made by AI out there. I have to warn you about this because I've just done a publishing course, and the publishing challenge I did was based on you writing your own book, which I'm still completing, the Asexual book. But the actual program, the full big program that this company who did the challenge, they make books using AI, right? And so I can't see how this is non-fiction, because some of the books, they pretend like they have known about the subject for years. They get AI. So, for example, they did a example of beekeeping. They got AI to write a book on beekeeping, and it said something in the beginning like, "Oh, ever since I was like a little kid, I've always loved beekeeping." And it's complete lies. They know nothing about beekeeping. They just got AI to write the book, so they're putting it out on Amazon to make money from it, right? That was one of the examples. And I can't do that. To me, that's not non-fiction. That's fiction. They're making it up. They're lying. They didn't do that, but they want to make the money. Right? I can't be like that. I'm a writer who writes from my own experience, my own knowledge, right? So if you're going to learn something in life, learn from someone who's actually got the knowledge and experience that you need, not from AI that sometimes is incorrect anyway. This goes for asexuality as well. If you're trying to learn about asexuality, learn it from someone like me or another channel that has been going a few years. People who know what they're talking about, right? Not people who don't know. Like AI doesn't get everything right. Like, for example, I was looking for an item of clothing. It said, "Oh, Debenhams in Exeter has it." I live in Exeter. Debenhams has been shut for years. It's a complete lie, right? So it's not always accurate, and so it's really important to learn from experienced people of whatever you want to learn about, right? So recognizing that you're lacking in a knowledge of certain thing, then learning that thing. And it's a good idea if you can focus on learning one new thing at once, or specifically specializing in learning one new thing at once. But sometimes you might have to learn a couple of skills together. So I'm trying to, like, I did a challenge in the Love Life Cup, for example, which was to go out and meet new people, and it told me what I needed to do in 30 days. So I did what they said to do, and that's way out of my comfort zone. But I have to keep exploring like new ways of meeting new people. And so that for me is hard, because I do a lot of that already, but it's like there's more ways of doing things. I can't do everything at the moment because my back injury is still, I'm still recovering from 2 wedge fractures in my back. So that does affect me doing certain activities. So if I want to take part in an activity group, for example, I can't do all the activities at the moment. So it's not a good idea to do that. So, there's certain other things I can do, like join an online club or do an activity that doesn't involve like strenuous exercise or anything like that. So, I'm having to learn new skills, but I'm also, like I said, specifically focusing a lot at the moment on learning better communication skills, and specifically in the area of advocating for my own needs and negotiating needs within relationships. I'm not talking about romantic relationships here. I mean, that it will apply to romantic relationships as well, but I'm not in a romantic relationship. So this will apply to any type of relationship, where it's friendship or whatever it is. But as I've not got a romantic relationship, I've got no romantic partner to practice this on, if you know what I mean. Practice this with, I should say, right? So I want you to know that it can be very daunting and difficult, but I want you to know that only through persistency and consistency can we learn new skills in life. Like, I have been reading as well. I've been reading a book publishing book. So it's a book about book publishing, which goes with the book challenge course I've got. And there's things in that book that are extra to what I know about book publishing that can help me. Even the course I did, the challenge I did last week, I learned some things from that's helped my writing already, that I didn't know about, right? That I needed to know, some of it for a long time. So I have been learning other skills. So you could say at the moment, I'm learning more book publishing skills, which you could argue is just not necessarily life skills. It's like skills that are for career and online business, if you like, or creative skills. But a lot of these aren't creative, they're technical stuff, right? So you could argue that's not a life skill, but then it comes under technology, some of it as well, like learning how to use more technologies. They've got a whole course in how to use Google on a Mac better and things like that. So I know how to create folders now on a Mac, right? To put different web pages in. So you've got IT, and IT, you could say, is a life skill these days. If you don't know how to use the internet and use it more and more effectively, you're missing a trick, right? There's skills you need to learn. So you could say that technology and all things related to technology is a life skill these days. And so therefore, you could say I'm learning more about communication skills, healthy communication skills and relationships, more about publishing, more about IT skills at the moment. And these are like 3 things already. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of stuff to be learning at once. Some people can only learn one thing at once, but sometimes you have to learn multiple things at once because it just crops up. Like when you do a course, you might learn one thing. Like I'm learning about book publishing, but I'm also learning more about technology at the same time because they kind of go hand in hand, right? So sometimes you are learning more than one skill at once. But I want you to know that if it's taking you a while, that's fine. You just got to be persistent and consistent. And it could take someone a couple of months to learn the things you need to learn. It could take years. As I said, and I was saying before, that my brain, with new information, something that's really new that I don't know anything about, my brain won't just automatically take it in and process it. My brain doesn't work like that. And I found out that fibromyalgia and anxiety can cause difficulties with processing new information. I got both of those. And so when it's new information, it can seem so alien to me that I just don't naturally, my brain just doesn't naturally take it in. Because a lot of the time when you learn things, there are patterns to things, right? You figure out there's patterns to things, there's styles, there's ways of doing things that then become like a pattern. But if you don't understand the pattern, if your brain is not getting the pattern, even if it's staring you in the face, until the brain actually takes it in and like puts it in like a new microchip in your brain, then you still got the old microchips in there. You haven't got the new one planted yet. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give yourself time, and you got to understand that just because you might take 8 months to learn it, and you might think that's really difficult. Someone might take a year to learn the thing you need to learn. Someone might take only 1 month, but the person who takes just 1 month to learn what you're learning might not learn it as in depth as you do. So even though you've taken 6 months or 8 months or whatever, you might end up knowing a lot more than they do and be much more advanced and skilled than they are, right? But you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people anyway. But it is hard if you're a slow learner. I can be a slow learner in some things, but once I really grasp a topic and grasp the thing, then I really excel at it a lot of the time. And I can be very intellectual in that thing and be very proficient in it and very good at it. But can take me a long time. Like I said, with iMovie, it took me 6 months to learn that. By the time that I finished with iMovie, then I really understood it totally well. and I can use iMovie quite quickly now, but I don't tend to do much video editing because I tend to prefer to put a lot more content out than worry about editing it, because that takes hours sometimes, and I rather put more good content, and also just blogs and lifestyle, so you can see how a person who's asexual is living their asexual life on a daily basis. That's what this channel's all about. It's about asexual education, information, lifestyle, and entertainment, so you can see how to live an asexual life, on how an asexual person lives their life on a day-to-day basis. Especially because a lot of society goes, oh, your asexual life must be so boring. I'm like, no, I don't have time to be bored with my asexual life. Go and check my channel out. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to see asexual adventures and what someone gets up to, isn't it? I think on a daily basis, it's like having your own asexual friend in your inbox. It's just cool, I think. So there we go. I'm happy to be your asexual friend. Even though we don't really know each other, we can get to know each other more. So yes, I hope that didn't sound creepy. I meant it in a nice, friendly manner. And yes, so it's very important that we understand that it's going to take us time. So then we get the person who's going to train us, coach us, mentor, get the book or get the video training course or whatever from someone who knows what they're doing, not someone who just pretends to know what they're doing to make money out of a product. We want someone who's actually got life experience of the thing that we need to do, because that is going to be better, because they're going to know all the nuances of the difficult situations that could crop up. If you've just got someone who's written a book on AI and they're copying what everyone else is saying off the internet and that information is incorrect, you're going to end up in trouble, right? So always bear this in mind. Learn from valuable, honest resources that can really help you excel in what you need to do. Learn from someone who's got the experience, and give yourself time to do it. You could give yourself a time to have learned certain things at different stages and break it down into manageable chunks. But if it is a life skill like communication skills, that is an ongoing thing, right? And if you don't know what you don't know, you might not be able to give yourself like say, oh, I want to learn communication skills, I want to learn this in 5 months. It might not be like that with communication skills, because if you don't know what you don't know where you need to be in 5 months for your communication skills. So in this case scenario, you would just be looking to improve yourself as much as possible and be persistent and consistent in upskilling in this area, so that you can see improvements in your interpersonal relationships or your work relationships or your friendships over a period of time. And when you start remembering stuff in your brain naturally, and you can actually in the moment have more healthy communication, conflict resolution, needs advocating for, listening to the other person, or when you improve in these areas over time, you naturally understand if you're improving these areas, then you can be rest assured that you're making progress. But some things, skills, there aren't specific markers that you can go around saying, oh, well, like IT, you could say, right, okay, in 6 months' time, I want to know how to build a website and be able to have a mailing list on my website and be able to have a homepage, an about page, and a contact page. That might be your goal because it's a technical thing, and how to actually what the bar is to be the things that you need to accomplish. But with ongoing learning, ongoing communication skills, you could think, well, I'll complete this part of the course in the next 3 months, or I'll complete this 6 modules within X amount of time, or I'll complete this 1 module over this period of time. You can do it like that. If it's a course you'll learn about, if it's a book, you can say, I'll learn this chapter and this chapter. But if you're actually putting into things into practice, and you need people to practice with, then you can't necessarily know that's going to happen. You can say, oh, I want to meet, or I want to communicate, or I want to be in a group with X amount of people in X amount of time. But if it's something that's not actually going in your brain, and it's new information, it's just not sinking in there, and you can't really go to the next level without these certain layers going there, you have to just give yourself time. You can't force yourself to learn something if you're not naturally taking it in. And there might be a number of reasons why you're not naturally taking information in. You might need to explain in a different way by a different person. You might just need to practice more, or you might just need to have time to take it in your brain and have different case scenarios. Maybe you'll start learning how to react better and communicate more effectively in certain scenarios, but you'll still be lacking in others. And rather than saying something that you might regret in the moment, you're thinking, hey, I don't know how to respond to this. I'm not going to respond to it at all at the moment, or I'm not going to say much. I'm just going to nod or acknowledge what they're saying thank you for sharing. And then I'm going to go and find out how I should have responded to that situation from a coach, a mentor, a course, a trainer, a teacher, something effective like that. Do you know what I mean? So you're like it's like on the job training, really. So it's on the instead of on the job training, because it's not a job, it's like ongoing communication, but ineffectively like on the job training, it's like learning on the spot. And then if you can't know what you need to know in that moment, then you then go and research how you should have dealt with that situation. This can be, and usually is, an ongoing learning curve. So for me, I know there's certain ways of doing things. I'm learning in the Love Life Club of how to speak more effectively, particularly with advocating for my needs and gaining clarity from the other person. That I know there's a pattern to it. My brain registers there's a pattern and way of doing things, but at the moment it's not got it figured out. I can see the stuff I'm learning in the trainings, and I can see what they're saying, but my brain cannot think like that for itself at the moment. It cannot. This is particular areas of communication, right? I am good at communicating, but I can be better in certain areas, right? And this is particularly on the areas of advocating for my own needs, because I wasn't taught to do that, and it's a really important skill to learn. And also gaining more clarity about from other people about things I might be confused about. And I think I can improve my listening skills some ways. And and I can also, like, when I reflect, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I didn't say that in the right way, or express that the right way, or say the right thing. So there are certain, it's a level now of communication that's a level that I feel I need to attain that I haven't yet got. So I've got much better communication than I did have years ago, because I had huge social anxiety, I told you. So obviously when you've got huge social anxiety, it often affects your communication skills with people. As in, you're not really communicating with people effectively at all. You're just like going in a corner somewhere and barely talking to anyone and feeling left out. You know what I mean? You're not really approaching people. You're not really having conversations with people. You're waiting for someone to talk to you, or maybe you're too nervous that someone's going to talk to you and scared, and you got all this going on. So I've overcome social anxiety, which was huge for me, took me years, huge. And so I had to learn levels of communication skills, even the basic of how to communicate with people and how to have conversations, engaging conversations with people that I didn't have before. So I'm good in that way now. I'm much better in that way. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I can't learn more skills, because I can, right? I always like to upskill myself. But in this particular area of the communication skills that I'm talking about now, there is stuff that I don't know how to do naturally. And so it kind of like might, when you're learning new skills, you have to kind of be handheld for a while. And I know there's, like I said, patterns of ways of reacting better and better expressing your needs. And I can see there's a pattern in what the person's saying, like when they're giving me advice in Matthew's the coaching I'm getting in there. The advice is good, and there's a pattern I can tell, but my brain's not taking it in as recognizing what that actual pattern is yet, so that I can like call upon that pattern naturally in my brain in the moment and use that pattern as a way of effectively communicating in that particular moment in the way that's most effective and efficient for it, if you know what I mean. That's a bit clinical, wasn't it? So you have to give yourself time. Your brains work differently. My brain works different to others, some other people, in that way. It just doesn't take in new information easily and learn something straight away some of the time. It takes a while for things to filter through. But even when I've been doing training courses, for example, apparently the brain has a natural way of just, and I've heard other people refer to this, of forgetting what it's learned. So you might learn something, think, oh, this is really good, I can do this now. You might do it for a bit, then you might not use that skill, that particular thing that you learn, and then you forget it again. And so your brain forgets things if you don't action them all the time. And then you can forget you've actually learned that. And you can think, hang on a minute, I'm learning this thing. It's familiar. But haven't I learnt this before? And you can't even remember if you've learned it before or not. But it seems familiar. So you might have, but you didn't practice it enough at the time. It wasn't that big part of your life where you wasn't needed to use that skill at the time. So you kind of lost in touch with the fact it worked, if it did. That's the problem with like our brains. Sometimes they switch off to even things that do work, and we end up forgetting what works and doing stuff that doesn't really work anymore or not as effectively. So you have to know this about the brain, right? So we have to give ourselves some grace, and we have to give ourselves a lot of patience and understand that yes, if we take longer to learn things, that's okay. We all have different ways of learning. But I know that I might take a lot longer to learn certain things, but once I learn them, I could be even more expert in them than the average person. Because if an average person, for example, is skimming a book and I'm actually devouring a book and taking the information, acting on it, that's two different things, right? And so if you're watching a video and you're taking in information and learning from a video, but you're not actioning on it, but someone else is learning from that video, they're taking their time, they're learning at a much slower pace than you are, but they're actioning everything, they might make much more progress than you did, but take longer to know the things you knew. So knowledge and learning new skills is not about just the knowledge, it's about applying that knowledge. It's about application of knowledge. So learning new skills is not just the theory, it's the application of the new knowledge that you've learned. It's a combination of application of the knowledge you've learned, a combination of skills you've already got, skills you're learning, and putting into practice what you are actually learning, taking action on it. So you need to bear this in mind with anything you're learning. And learning is not easy. Learning is not easy. And if your brain does not naturally work a certain way, it doesn't mean to say you can't accomplish something. It just means to say that you might take a lot longer, months or a year or whatever, to learn the things that other people learn just like that. Right? I am slower to learn some things. And I know that about myself. It's been like that for years. It's just the way it is. I can't like go, oh right, Sandra, don't be Sandra. You know what I mean? I have to accept the fact that it can take me a long while to learn certain things. But then when I've got them, I really got them. For example, I learned how to make books a bestseller, right? Which I'm so proud of my 2 best-selling books, Organically makes them a bestseller, by the way, not, you know what I mean? So organically means like in a natural manner. And like not paying someone to go and make it a bestseller, like it's come from me. But anyway, I actually had a client who I taught how to make a book a bestseller, like what is the formula for doing that, like because I know that now. It doesn't mean to say every book I make is going to be a bestseller. You're relying on people to buy the book. If people don't buy the book, then you're not going to be a bestseller, are you? But there is a way that you can make it more likely, like book cover design and stuff like that, the description you give and all this type of stuff, right? So I was actually had a coaching client. I don't do much coaching, but as a book publishing coaching client, she's actually someone I met through Blue Talks, and she was writing a new book and didn't have a clue about how to go about self-publishing it. So had a couple of coaching sessions with her. I was her coach, and her book has become a bestseller. It was bestseller straight away as soon as she published it, and it's still holding bestseller status now for a few weeks. I think it's something like 3 weeks, I think it is now. And so she's over the moon, and that's because she listened to what I said and she did what I told her to do in the coaching she learned from me. And now she's overjoyed that the first book she's ever made is a bestseller. Now, she did pay me for coaching, but I went above and beyond as she would advocate for herself. She's actually written me, she was my client in November last year, but I also had another coaching session with her that I was a coach, right? And I've also given her a bit of extra as well, because it was something she needed to change up our book cover to make it much better, which she listened to me on. And so yeah, she's a bestseller. with a parenting book, and she's really happy. And that's because she listened to me and took action on what I told her to do. Now, I didn't know this formula and way of doing things until I actually joined Blue Talks and learnt myself. But the people who teach it there, they teach you to have a team of people behind you. And some people pay £10,000 to get someone to help them to make the bestseller. I didn't charge her £10,000. I didn't even charge her £100 at a coaching session. But people usually do charge a couple of hundred. Like she said you should be charging a couple of £100 for per hour for the coaching advice you gave me, because I gave her written information as well, not just a coaching session, because she said the information that I've got is invaluable. I mean, people are charging thousands of pounds for what I told her how to do. Do you know what I mean? But that's only because I've learned it myself, but I've learned it, so I'm good at it now. I can excel in that. So my point is it took me ages to understand. Like I've had books out since 2015. That's before I started helping asexuals. And I hadn't, to my knowledge, had a bestseller. But I might have had a bestseller and not realised it before, because I didn't even know what made a bestseller. I didn't even know what bestseller status actually was with the book. Like what do you have to do? What criteria makes it a bestseller, right? So I might have had a best-selling book before, but I didn't know that. And then last year when I joined Blue Talks and I was going through their courses, they have courses on public speaking, but also about book publishing. When I was learning from them, that's how I learned how to make books a bestseller, or understand even what books bestseller was. And actually, this Asexual Perspectives book happened to be a bestseller at the time that I was learning about that. And I say, oh, I've just noticed that my book is in the top 100 bestsellers list. Does that mean it's a bestseller? They're like, yes, it means it's a bestseller. I'm like, oh. And that was like, I didn't even know that. That was last year. It might have got bestseller status before, because I sold copies obviously before, because it was published in 2017. But I only knew there was a bestseller last year. And it only happened to be that we were talking about how to make it something a bestseller. And I'm like, oh, I just looked at my book and it's in the top 100 bestsellers on Amazon. Does that mean it's bestseller? Like, yes, Sandra, it does mean it's a bestseller. I'm like, oh, okay, right. Now I know what it means, but I didn't even know what it means, So I was lacking in knowledge, even though I've been book publishing since 2015. I started with a book about redundancy, so nothing to do with asexuality back then, because I used to help redundant workers get back into work. That's what I was doing before I helped asexuals, amongst other things like working in retail and stuff like that. So yeah, it is a good book, by the way. Do get a copy of it on Amazon, all good bookshops. But yes, so I was able to help this other person. So my point is I was learning a skill that I didn't know before. I didn't know about what makes a book a bestseller. I didn't know how to make a book a bestseller. It's not guaranteed. There's there are people that you can pay thousands of pounds to guarantee your book to be a bestseller because of what they do, right? I know how to do it without people spending thousands and thousands of pounds, and I don't have a team of people behind me. There's me. You know what I mean? So yes, a lot of people have teams behind them and stuff. So it's very important that we understand that it can take us a long time to learn certain skills, but once we learn those skills, we can become an expert in those skills. So it might take me, I know, longer to learn skills, right? But once I learn those skills, I can excel at those skills, because the knowledge, once it's really sunk in, I really grasp the concept of it on a deep level and able to do things that other people then don't know how to do, right? So you have to understand that if you're a person that's a slow learner, that is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be difficult in terms of it takes you longer, and it can be very frustrating, and it can be very like, oh, why can't I just know this? Like, other people are learning this thing much faster than me. Other people are getting on in life much quicker than me. It can seem that way. But do they know as much as you're going to know once you mastered what you're doing? Right? Because if you take a longer to learn it, you can be learning it on a much more deeper layered level in your brain. That then once it's finally activated, means you understand it on a lot more deeper level. And they've just scratched the surface with it. So they have missed certain things about the things they need to know. Like, they're not as detailed as you are. So I think this is really important to know when you're trying to manage and effectively managing, mastering, learning new life skills and any type of skills in life. right? If you're trying to learn how to manage your money better, if you're not good at managing money, if you're like always spending more than you're actually earning, then again, you need to be talking to someone like a financial advisor. There's quite a lot of free financial advice from banks, even. You can book a call often on the phone, from the app, or go in and see a financial advisor, and they can help you budget your money better. Or, Citizens Advice Bureau, if you need free advice in the UK, for example, you can go there. Or you can watch YouTube videos, and people will then be able to explain to you how to manage money more effectively and better, like how to manage and budget better. So, for example, you have to cut out certain expenses or cut them down. Go and get an alternative phone provider, or stop going out to McDonald's every Wednesday and use that money for other things. Don't have a credit card, therefore you can't spend money you don't have, for example. All these types of things. I don't have a credit card. I purposely do not have a credit card and never have done. Have a Visa debit card, but never a credit card. Why? Because I don't want to spend money I haven't got. I don't want to put stuff on credit. I don't want to have interest added to stuff. Why? I'm just interest added to stuff is just losing money, isn't it? Unless obviously you're investing in something with some interest, you could argue that, because there's a difference between investing in assets and just spending money on expenses like entertainment. There's like a money jar system to effectively manage your money, where you put different percentages of your money into different types of accounts for different things. So you can have, for example, you can have a main account that pays your bills, and that can be a percentage of your wages. And you have another account for long-term savings for spending, such as saving up to buy a new fridge, saving up to buy a new computer, saving up for something that you need in your life, but it's like a long-term thing. You have to save every month for that thing. Then you have like a savings account that you don't touch, it just gains interest. Right? Then you have a savings account, you have an current account just for some entertainment, which can be like 10% of your salary you do allow to be entertainment. Like, you can have an account for charity when you spend so much money on charity, a percentage. So you can put your money that comes into your bank account going direct debit to put different amounts in different accounts for different things. This is effective money management, in case you didn't already know these types of things, right? So this is skills you need to learn. So if you're not good at money management, you're not good at budgeting, you don't understand how to save for stuff, then learn this from books or from courses or mentors or coaches or YouTube videos, right? These are life skills. You need to know how to effectively manage your money in order to be able to buy things in the future, in order to be able to rent, or be able to buy a business, or be able to afford to save up for a car, or be able to put a deposit down on a new home, be able to move home. All these types of things, these are all life skills. Right? So we need to be knowing in life that we don't know everything. And we can just sit there not knowing things and just play ignorant, or we can actually become self aware and learn the things in life that we don't already know, that we need to know, so that we're constantly growing and developing ourselves into better human beings for ourselves and for the others around us. Right? And the advantages of this is you are growing, you're not stagnating and dying inside. Right? If all you're doing is the same thing and you're just saying that's what I'm like and I'm not going to change, you're missing out on a whole life that you could live by excelling your knowledge and learning more stuff, so it can put you in new social circles. It can help you to have new friends. It can just help expand your mind, so you're not living the same monotonous life. It can help you just feel better about yourself, growing confidence, growing self-esteem. Being self-aware is very good. It can be hard sometimes, because when you become more self-aware, it can actually make you feel more lonely, because you're not prepared to tolerate stuff in your life that you would have tolerated years ago. Like I told you, I'm learning more effective communication skills now, but part of that is learning to advocate for my own needs when I didn't used to. So now that adds a layer of complexity to connections, from the point of view of I'm not just gonna accept things I may have accepted before without trying to express my own needs and advocating them, right? But I should attract a different type of person, or maintain and sustain connections with different types of people because of that, because I'm trying to learn those skills, right? People are not mind readers, right? But the way you express yourself can be effective or ineffective. So I'm trying to learn how to be more effective. You know what I mean? So you've got to understand you're not perfect. There's loads of things you need to learn. We're all flawed in different ways. We all don't know certain things. We all can improve. We can all get better. We can all reflect and think, damn, I wish I'd said that better. Or maybe I shouldn't have said that the way I did. Maybe I could have phrased this better, or I should have said that and didn't say that. Do you know what I mean? So learning all these different life skills is really important. You know, life skills are usually to do with relationships, finances, career, you know, money management, like I said earlier, time management, productivity, all these types of things, right? And social skills are a big thing. And there's a lot of asexuals that are introverted and that have social anxiety or lack social skills. And it may be frightening for you to learn social skills, but it's a skill and skills that's essential to help your growth, right? Some asexuals are very lonely and isolated and cut off, but the only way you're going to change that in your life is by learning how to integrate yourself more into society and be around people more and learn how to speak to people more effectively and be in groups of people, or at least if you're not even used to talking to someone on one-to-one basis, learn how to speak. And yes, you might be awkward at first. Yes, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to understand everything. You might say stuff that's not great, but you're only going to get there if you learn these skills and practice them. If you never learn and you never practice, you're not going to get anywhere in terms of progress in your life. And I don't want that for you. I know it's scary. I know it's scary to do something and get out of your comfort zone. But the only way we make progress in life is getting out of our comfort zone time and time again. It scares me, and I get out of my comfort zone a lot more than quite a lot of asexuals, I think, right? I hear a lot of asexuals going, I can't change, or I'm this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, you're this, that, and the other. That's fair enough. But what are you going to do about it to change it? How are you going to grow? How are you going to develop yourself? Because you can. And some people are like, I can't. Anyone can if they change their mindset. If you say you can't, then of course you can't, because you believe that. And so you'll stop yourself doing it. You won't say, okay, give it a go. And that's what I think you should do. Just give it a go, right? Just give it a try. You never know until you try something, right? And we're all here in life to improve ourselves. Surely the goal is to grow as people, not to be so scared of trying anything new that we just hide ourselves away and don't experience the full variety of life and don't experience things that we could be experiencing in life. Life is all about growth, and it's about becoming aware of yourself. When you can be self-aware, though, when you become more self-aware, though, I meant to say, you can actually find it difficult, more difficult life in some ways, because you're aware of the things that you shouldn't be doing anymore, that shouldn't happen to you, or that shouldn't be going on in your life. Like if people speak to you in a really bad way, you'll notice it a lot more if you're upskilling your communication skills, because you'll be like, hang on a minute, this is a really bad way of talking to me. You know what I mean? Because you'll become aware of it. And I'm more aware of my own needs now than I used to be. I'm more aware of my own needs, because instead of like getting frustrated and confused, well, I still get confused sometimes about things, but instead of getting so frustrated, and letting the frustration go on, I now ask myself, why are you frustrated? Like, what's the problem, Sandra? Like, why are you feeling angry or frustrated now? Like, why are you feeling angry or frustrated or hurt or upset? Like, what's gone on? And I'm now analyzing that now. But then I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to say something to this person because my needs aren't being met. But how do I say this effectively so I don't hurt the other person or respect their needs? You know, that's a whole new world of communication to me, you know, and that's hard. But I'm noticing more and more in myself about my feelings and my reactions to things, whether it's a good reaction or not so good reaction. I'm noticing whether it's a more instinctive reaction that might not be good, or a more thoughtful reaction. So I'm becoming much more self-aware than I've ever been. And when you have self-awareness, you then become more aware of your surroundings and people and their behaviors. And so then you end up getting more insight and knowledge into how and why people do the things they do. And so that can be hard as well, because you can feel more lonely. Lee, it's nice to see you, Lee. I think it's also important to be honest with your oneself about which thing you genuinely want, but maybe tell yourself you don't, and which things you don't want, but maybe tell yourself you do. Yeah. I agree, I think, because I think I thought that a while ago, but I can't remember what I thought about. I can't actually remember what I thought about, but I think I watched someone actually on YouTube who's like a personal. I'm going to plug myself in now, my laptop. I think I watched someone who's doing personal development, and they were talking about the reality of the situation versus what you should be saying. So I think that's what you mean, that sometimes we can say things because we think society and other people want us to say it, but actually it's not what we want for ourselves. Is that what you mean? I've definitely fallen into both traps. So you've fallen into both traps of like, let me read that again. You think it's also important to be honest with yourself about which things you genuinely want, but maybe tell yourself you don't, and which things you don't want, but maybe tell yourself you do. And so you've done both of them. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think it is hard sometimes. Like, what I find difficult, very difficult, is like the people that I have like as my friends, for example, they're very different to me. And I don't think it's a bad thing having differences, but it'd be nice if I had some people more like me sometimes. Because you can have like differences, which means you've got different needs. And you always then have to negotiate those needs. And you have to like obviously try and meet each other's needs. Whereas I think if you are connected to people who are more like you in the first place, it's probably like a bit easier going, if you know what I mean. Like, I know relationships and friendships are hard work. There's no two ways about it. If you're trying to have a healthy relationship or friendship, if you're not trying to have a healthy relationship or friendship, then it doesn't really matter, does it? You know what I mean? It's a lot more easier that way, because you're not really talking about your needs, you're not really expressing your needs, you're not really having healthy communication skills and all this lot. Actually having a healthy communication, actually having a healthy relationship, should I say, is actually harder than having an unhealthy relationship, in terms of like, you've got to think about more what you're saying or where you say it, expressing your needs, how you're going to express your needs, and all this like, it's kind of hardcore. It's something that I'm working on at the moment to improve, but I find it difficult because it'd be nice for me if I had some more friends that were extroverted like me, for example, that liked being on social media like I do, for example. You know what I mean? I don't need someone to be specific like me, like wanting to be on social media all the time, but it'd be nice if I had some friends who I could go out with and they like cool about. I've had it in the past, but I haven't got any currently, you know, that were cool about being in my videos sometimes. Because if I'm on my videos and I'm out with friends who don't want to be on social media, I have to cut them out all the time, the videos. And this didn't used to be an issue for me. I didn't really used to think about it. I'm used to doing it. It's a skill I've learned. And, you know, I respect the fact they don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be on camera, right? But by the same token, it gets harder for me. Like, I'm realizing like, oh, it'd be really nice, because I care about the people and my friends, to actually share the memories in a video format with them, you know, at the time. Because I'm more about being real, authentic, and show my authentic self to the world. I don't care what people think about me on social media, where people like me or they don't like me. It doesn't bother me. I don't have to like look a perfect way, or I don't have to have my hair looking great all the time. Like, sometimes it looks like stuck up a bit or something, or my fringe is all messy or whatever. I don't worry about stuff like that, you know, but other people do, and other people like don't want to be like on social media like I am. And I don't, you know, I don't need someone who's going to be on every single video with me or anything like that, but it'd just be nice if I'm out with people sometimes to just be able to, sometimes with groups I don't even know, groups of people I don't even know, they're cool about me. Like, I'm at a meetup, for example, a social meetup, and I'm like, oh, I'm just taking a bit of video footage, do you want to be on my video? They'll be like, yay, and wait, so that's okay. But it's like, I would like to have that with my close friends, because it's like memories to treasure. Like, you know, I know photographs are traditional like that, but for me, there's nothing more with video. It's a bit like having, you know, like back in the olden days before I was even born, you know, when they had cine films, and they used to take silly videos of people together, family, friends, whatever, weddings or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it'd be nice to capture some of those moments, you know. I love being on camera, says Lee. It's amazing when it entertains or helps someone. Oh, thank you. That's really insightful. Yeah, because you like acting, don't you? Yeah, I love being on camera as well, you know, and it's I love being on YouTube specifically, you know, and it feels great to me. And it'd be nice if I had some friends who were like as enthusiastic as I was about that, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's kind of like I respect my friends, you know, I respect other people, but it's like it'd be nice to have some people who are more naturally like me, so I wasn't having to like either negotiate things all the time or just like, well, I have to accept, don't I? If they don't want to be on camera, they don't want to be on camera. I have to accept that about them. But it's just hard for me because I'm not really getting my needs met in terms of I would like some friends that can be on camera with me so that I can just snap videos of us together. Like where, you know, where we go sometimes. I don't have to be in every video, right? But if I'm an aquarium, of course I'm taking a lot of videos of the fish and stuff. But it's nice if I'm taking just a bit with them in it sometimes, you know, or waving at the camera or whatever, because it's like my natural life and I like to be authentic, real, and natural, you know, and it's hard because I'm like shutting that part of my life off. And I didn't have a problem with it, but all of a sudden it's just got an issue for me recently, which isn't helpful. This really isn't helpful because it's like it's helpful to just think, okay, I'm hugely skilled, I can easily cut them out. I have ways of working around it. I'm good at doing this type of thing. No one would even really know they're there. But that's kind of part of the problem with me. It's like, well, you know, sometimes I do. I say, oh, my best friend's like not on camera, you know, then they're I'm with my best friend, but they're not on camera. So people do know that that person's there, but it's just kind of really hard for me. And most people I come across are either introverted, they're really private, you know. I respect that people are different, but it'd be nice to have someone who's very similar or the same as me sometimes. Because otherwise, you know, you always I mean, it's good for learning skills, it's good for my skills and communication skills and practicing them and negotiation and all this lot. And I realize, you know, it's probably part of the process of my life that I need to go through. But I think it would be better in some ways if I also had some other friends that were like-minded. I know what that's like. It's a right, what was it? It's pain, did you say? Um, yeah, it's just hard for me, honestly. It's like because my needs really are, I'd like to have pain. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the heart emoji was covering up what you were saying, Lee. I know what that's like. It's a right pain. Yeah, it is really difficult for me because my needs are, I'd like some friends who actually were fine about being on my channel occasionally or some of the time. You know, they were just like, oh, cool with it, and it wasn't a deal. Didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to think about cutting them out. Didn't have to think about going around them. Didn't have to worry about stuff like that. We could just hang as friends and just be cool together, right? You know what I mean? That to me is like what it should be like. That's like the natural state of my being and naturally what I feel like. But other people don't feel like that. And that wasn't an issue. I've only just like got this in my head and I've kind of got to get it out again in the sense it's not gonna help my current relationship, friendships, you know? Because I can't make someone be in a video that doesn't want to be in a video and I can't disrespect their wishes. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that type of thing. You have to respect their wishes. But I know I have a need, and my needs are kind of glaring at the moment, saying, well, you really need some friends that you can go on day trips with, and you can, you know, you can be on your channel just expressing yourself with them sometimes, you know, you don't have to keep hiding them or covering them up or going around them or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I feel that my needs aren't being met in that way, and that is a really hard part of like friendship relationships. You know what I mean? Like if I ever have a boyfriend in the future, I really need someone who's going to be happy to be seen on social media with me and not worry about stuff like that and be cool with it because I can't be doing it's, you know, like if you have a friend and you see your friend like once or twice a month or even once a week or whatever, it's not the end of the world if they don't want to come on camera with you, right? But if you had a scenario where you had a permanent partner, for me, because of the type of person I am, I know this doesn't go for everyone, but because of the type of person I am and the needs I do actually have, to be in a relationship with someone who didn't want to be on camera just wouldn't work for me. It just wouldn't. It would drive me up the wall, and I would just, it wouldn't feel natural. It feel like I was, like it's difficult for me enough with just friends, but doing it with a romantic partner would just be dreadful, because I want to be able to share where we're going together. They'd be a huge part of my life. And that's another thing I find difficult, even with friends. It's like they matter to me. I care about them. So I want them to be seen on camera with me sometimes, you know what I mean? Because they're important people in my life. And once you care about someone, you kind of want to share different things. And to me, in my personal opinion and view, I want to share those moments in the moment with them on camera, with them on video camera. But, I seem to be mostly attracting people in terms of connection and friendship lately that are opposite to me. They're introverted, that don't hardly ever on social media, don't want to be on camera. And I respect those people. I'm glad they're in my life still, but it's just hard for me, because it's like, personally for me, it's a need that I'm now not getting met. You know what I mean? And so that's hard. It's hardcore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want a person coming on my channel all the time that they completely take over my channel. That would be disrespectful to me, in my opinion, as well. If they were just like, "Oh, I'm new in your life, I just want to completely be in your on your channel all the time and take over with you." That I wouldn't want that either. It's about getting balance. But when you know what I mean, I'd like someone who's occasionally cool with it and like wave in the background or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Just chilling out. So that's hard. So it's hard for me to navigate that at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Because if I meet a good person, just they don't want to be on social media and they don't want to be on camera, I can't then say, "Oh, they're not." If they're not a bad person, then there's no reason for me not to be friends with them. But obviously, I'm not getting the need met of, like just chilling out with them on camera. You know what I mean? That's something that I'm not getting fulfilled at the moment. So I think relationships and friendships are very difficult, especially if you're very different to the people you're friends with. But if they're good people, that's very moral and very, they've got good morals and values, and they're honest and got integrity and stuff like that, then there's a big reason to be friends with those type of people, and I got those benefits, and I understand different people are different, but I've still got a like gap, if you like, this gap where I'm not getting those specific needs met of me. And it's only because I'm learning more about myself and becoming even more self-aware than I've ever been before, that I'm learning, actually, you've got all these needs, Sandra, that now aren't being met. And you didn't, you don't advocate for I can't get the needs met if the people don't naturally want to meet the needs, if you know what I mean. So, if they don't want to be on camera ever, and that's the way they are, and that's their wishes, I can't go against that. Like, a compromise would be like, occasionally they come on camera with me, but if they don't want to ever be on camera, then there's nothing I can do about it. I don't get the compromise. I have to like suck up the fact my needs not being met in that way. That's why it's really kind of hard. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously friendship is more important to me than them being in my videos on social media. But I couldn't have a romantic relationship, and a guy not wanting to be on social media, because it just break my heart. I find it hard enough as it is. And I do live a very public life, and when you like, if I had a partner, I'd be probably seeing them more than I do friends, because friends like have got their own friends and their own lives. Do you know what I mean? So I would probably be seeing a partner more, and they'd be more in my life. And if I had to cut them out all the time, it would just mean that I probably wasn't getting as many videos done and stuff as well. Which you probably noticed even in the last short-term relationship. The guy was on my channel a little bit, a couple of times, but most of the time I wasn't even live streaming as much, because I was with him quite a lot, or even if it's on video call, if I wasn't physically with him, and then that means I'm not on here. So really, I need a guy who'll be on camera with me some of the time. So because I need to be able to make sure I'm regularly doing these videos still. At the moment, I don't want a relationship anyway. I'd rather just be doing these videos myself. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, in terms of like friendship, I'd like some friends if they were cool about being on camera, but it's just they're not. And so like I feel like I would like some more extroverted friends. So I don't need tons of friends. I'm saying friends, but I don't need tons of friends, but extroverts and people that are cool on camera, and people just like to go out on day trips with sometimes and hang out with a bit more, especially in my city. But I haven't really come across many people in my city that are suitable for me. So Yeah, I think it's hard. I think, learning life skills, like, so obviously one of the skills I'm learning at the moment, why I say obviously, it might not be obvious, is how to meet even more new and different people. And that means me getting out of my comfort zone and kind of trying to attend groups or online communities where I wouldn't usually be. I mean, a lot of asexuals are introverted and a lot of asexuals don't want to be on camera either, but that's not true of every asexual. So yeah, that's hard because someone suggested, well, something suggested, should I say, that I, maybe have like asexual meetups and put them on camera. Now I used to hold asexual meetups. Only like last year I hadn't held any group meetups, and I haven't this year because of the things I've been studying online and health and stuff, right? But I have taken a bit of video footage occasionally at my asexual meetups, but a lot of people who come to my meetups don't want to be on camera. And if they don't want to be on camera, then I can't disrespect that. So again, a lot of, like I said, a lot of asexuals are introverted and they don't want to be on camera, which I have to respect that. So just because even if I do asexual meetups, doesn't mean to say I'll necessarily be getting that on camera, because if they don't want to be that, some people even said to me, like, why aren't you posting videos of your meetups? I'm like, because if the people don't want to be shown in my videos, I have to respect that. Do you know what I mean? They need to be comfortable at my meetups. I can't do what they're not comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? So even if it is an asexual meetup, so that you can see some videos of asexual meetup stuff, but they were just like with the odd person that's okay about being on camera. They're not really with a whole load of people that were there, because a lot of people are private. And I think if you're just meeting a new person, for example, at an asexual meeting, you're a host, it's a bit weird saying, oh, do you mind if I just shoot a video of you now? It can be a bit strange. It might be something that I get used to asking, like, can I take a bit of video of asexual meetups? But if people have got huge social anxiety, they're not even used to it, being around people, if you ask them that, it might put them off coming. So I like people to feel as comfortable as possible at my meetups, you know what I mean? And that means working with the people there, and if they're not used to being on camera or don't like it, then I have to respect that. So when you learn new life skills and then you are trying to upskill your life skills, you then realize more things about yourself and you become more self-aware, which can actually make your relationships harder in some way, but probably healthier in the other, if you know what I mean. Because you're self-aware, you're like, oh my god, I've got all these needs that I didn't realize are not being met. And you're like, how do I get these needs met now? And that then becomes like a kind of goal to try to attain. But then you have to do different things if you keep doing the same thing. Like I said yesterday, in yesterday's live stream, you keep getting the same results. So I think it's very important to understand that change starts with us. But obviously you have to have willing participants as well. Even if you learn new skills and you become better in what you know and do, doesn't mean to say that other people are on the same growth level as you who could accommodate those new changes in you. So you have to understand, like if you are in a partnership with someone, if you're in a relationship and they've got a growth mindset as well, it's great. But if you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't have a growth mindset and you do, you could learn so many more skills and self-awareness that you two drift apart as well. That can be common in some relationships. Unfortunately, it happens quite a lot in the personal development space, that you can kind of outgrow the person in terms of growth, in terms of your learning. Like if you learn something and then the person doesn't want to learn it with you, and you are accelerating and you're learning more and more like healthy ways of being or different ways of being that's better for you, and that person just doesn't agree with them or doesn't even want to adapt or change or become a healthier person in and of themselves, then you might end up being incompatible with someone you've been with a long time. So that can be really heartbreaking. At least I don't have that problem at the moment, in terms of like I'm not in a relationship, so I don't have that to worry about. So if you're not in a relationship and you're single, it's a perfect time actually to grow yourself and develop new and better skills, because you're more likely to be spending the most time on your own, so you can grow and excel yourself quicker in some ways because you've got more time on your hands. And also you're enabling yourself to be better for a potential future partner if you do want a relationship in the future, as well as being better for yourself. But whenever you're changing, whenever you're doing new life skills, you always have to do them from a place of you want to learn them and do them for yourself, not for someone else to people please them. That is the wrong thing to do. So if you've got someone in your family member that say, hey, you should do this, right? If you don't think you should do it because you don't want to and you're resisting it, that's not a good way of learning something, because you're just not going to learn it effectively and you're going to end up feeling resentful. So when we learn new life skills, we have to, one, not be resentful of the fact we didn't know it in the first place, because we have to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this thing. Why don't I know this? Some people might naturally know the thing that you don't know, or know it more easily or quickly than you. So you have to give yourself some grace and not get too frustrated in that respect. But if you do feel frustration, it's okay. It's a natural thing. And then you have to understand that you might end up learning stuff that other people don't know. But if you got someone who's a family member who's telling you to learn a skill just because they think you should learn it, and you're not really wanting to learn it, you're not going to learn it effectively in a good manner, in a healthy way. So when we talk about managing life skills, it's good for you to manage the life skills that you want to learn. But it's okay for someone to point out if there's a life skill you're lacking. Like but it's the way they do it. Like, you might have a parent who says to you, oh, you're not very good at managing your time. Now that obviously is a criticism, but you might not have even noticed you're not good at managing your time unless someone said that to you. So it might take you aback a bit. You might feel quite peed off with it, but then you might think, oh, actually they're right, because my college tutor, for example, has said that to me, that I'm not good at handing my assignments in on time. And that friend the other day said I was late, and now they're a bit peed off with me, and oh, I clearly have a problem with time management that I need to sort out. But if that person is just going, you need to sort time management out, and you're like, oh, I really don't care what time I turn up, blah blah blah, that's not actually a good attitude to have. It's not really going to help you in your life. But you can't just do something because the other person wants you to learn that life skill. You have to do it with your heart and soul, that you think it's going to be good for you in some way, for it to be effective and for you to not resist the learning. If you're trying to learn something and do duress because you don't really want to learn it, then you've got a huge resistance there, as well as trying to learn the thing, which is not good. You need to be trying to learn it because you want to learn it, because you see that, oh, I can be a valuable person more to myself and to other people, as in the fact that I can learn and develop and grow myself, and I can become a better version of me. I can become a more healthier version of me. I can become better at managing my time, or better at communication, or I can become better listener. And these skills are going to help me throughout my whole life, so they're to my benefit. So you've got to see learning new life skills as beneficial, and understand that a lot of us are not taught these things in school or colleges or even university a lot of the time. And by learning them, there can be so much we've got to learn. There's a lot of people that I hate cooking, right? I don't like cooking, but I know how to cook for myself. But there are people in life that are, at university, and they don't even know how to cook for themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like getting takeaway, all their mates are cooking for them. So you know what I mean? Like, I hate cooking. I really can't stand it, but I have to do it because I can't be eating junk food, especially with all my food allergies and tolerances. I just can't do it with my digestive system anyway. But you know what I mean? So it's imperative that I learn how to cook something and make some foods for myself. And even though I don't like it, the benefit is I know how to do it for myself. I don't have to rely on someone else to do that for me. Right? So when you leave university, a lot of people don't even understand how to cook for themselves if their parents haven't taught them, unless a friend teaches them. And if they've got someone doing that for them all the time, they don't ever learn it, right? Until someone makes them do it. My ex this year, he didn't even know how to cook for himself. He gets all his meals included with his rent for someone actually cooking for him in the evening. And then just, I don't know what he does at lunchtime. I can't even remember where he took some food. I don't know if it's from the previous night or if it's just sandwiches. But whenever he was with me, he just went out with me and ate pizza from a bit Domino's, right? Because I said I'm not cooking for him. I don't do cooking from a guy. If he wants to cook, he can do it himself. Plus, he eats different food than me anyway. But once he was in my place and he did get food out. And then I had to show him how to use my microwave, because he'd never used the microwave. He said on his own, it's like he didn't know how to use it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's 27 years old, right? So yes, that was very interesting, because I hate cooking. And I'm like teaching him how to cook using the microwave. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I hate cooking yet teaching a guy how to use a microwave. It's a very enlightening experience, should I say. But that's just like must have been I can't believe he's not used a microwave before. It seems very odd to me. But there we go. But I think it's the first time he'd actually travelled on a bus as well, by the sound of it, because usually his friends took him to like airport and stuff. Um, he didn't even know how to use a microwave. Yes, exactly, Lee. He didn't know. He said he didn't know how to use a microwave. And he never even travelled, like, he used to travel on a bus to see me, but he said he wasn't used to doing that. He wasn't used to travelling without his friends. Like, his friends used to take him in car to an airport. So basically being quite spoilt, I think. 27 years old we're talking as well. It's not like he's a teenager. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he said he's in year. So basically we got food from a shop, spa shop, like co-op it was actually. And he took it back to mine and he had like a packet of like this curry stuff and naan bread and that. So I had to teach him how to put the naan bread in for a certain amount of time and the curry thing and what to do and how to open the packet to put it in and stuff like that. Yeah. I had to teach him how to use a microwave. And when he first like came down to see me, it's like I'm not used to traveling. My friends usually just take me to the airport. I don't go anywhere by bus with it. This is the first time I'm doing it. So, yeah, all this type of thing. It's like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? So, yes. So, but he already knew that I wasn't gonna actually go and cook. I did show him how to use a microwave, but that was the extent of what was happening. But I still had like, oh, he used his fingers as well because he was Indian, so I didn't have to worry about that. But to eat with. But yes, so there we go. So everyone has to teach things in life, but you have to be willing to learn it. But also, you have to be willing to sometimes say, no, I'm not going to do that for you. You do need to learn it yourself because otherwise, people never learn anything. Yeah. So, did he enjoy learning the new stuff? Well, he left my life after that. He was not a good guy in the end. I don't know if you know what happened, but that was the last day we were together, I think, if I remember right. It was like the last day or the last weekend we were together. I think it was the last day we were actually together, I think. I think. I can't remember if it's the Saturday or the Sunday that happened. I can't remember because obviously it wasn't good the way he left my life, you know? He went back on the bus saying he'd get a time management app to help manage the time better. And instead of improving our relationship, he decided to delete his whole Facebook account and lie about it, which is how we communicated. And, and so basically he kind of ended our relationship without actually ending it. It was me who had to end it. He phoned me up twice and he was just going on about the fact of I should have changed my mind about the time. Like, so he was late to video dates, basically video calls with me, and he thought that was fine. And I said it's not acceptable. 3 times he was late, you know what I mean? I said it's not acceptable. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't care if someone's 5 minutes late, quarter of an hour late, half an hour. I'm like, it's not respecting me all my time. So then he turned it all around on me saying, you're disrespecting me because you're angry with me that I'm late. So you're disrespecting me. That's basically gaslighting. And he wouldn't talk to me nearly for 2 nights before he saw me that weekend. Then he apologized before he came to see me that weekend. That was the last weekend before he completely, like, he was on the bus going home and then he literally deleted all his Facebook. And then I'm like, well, I guess our relationship's over if you're doing that. And he's like, oh no, I just got locked out of my account. Don't know how it happened. My sister's got like my password in India, blah, blah, blah. It's just a complete load of lies. In the end, I said, well, you're just lying to me. He was like, yeah. So I'm like, if you lie to your best friend, you lie to me. He's like, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just not a good guy for me. And so there was other stuff he said, but he did actually say to me, oh, I think if I did move to Exeter, you dump me within 6 months. And then where would I live and where would I go and what would I do? And I'm like thinking, well, clearly you know that you're not a good guy for me then, aren't you? But yes, so there we go. That was just like some of the stuff that went on, but it was just horrible. So actually he got quite angry. So he told me that he didn't like the fact I was angry. Then he got angry with the microwave thing. So you asked me if he did enjoy the learning the new stuff, and he actually got angry about the microwave. And I said to him, I said, I thought you didn't get angry about things. and you're just angry about a microwave. Like, why are you angry about that? So I actually was angry about something to do with that. I can't remember what he was angry about to do that. I don't know if it's because he had to wait for it, or he didn't, it was like he had to do it, like because I was teaching him how to do it, but actually got angry over it. Yes, because that was a red flag for me when he was implying that I've got anger, that I'm angry when I shouldn't be, like I've got some sort of anger problem. And then he got angry over microwave. I was angry he was late to video calls for the third time. I think I'm entitled to be angry over that. It's not respecting my time. He knew that it was eating into my time because I'd usually be working during that time. And then he got angry. He goes, "Oh, and then he got angry over microwave." I'm like, "It's what I said. I thought you told me you didn't get angry, and like you're angry, and it's just a microwave." I think he was laughing about that. So yes, I remember he's angry now because I remember saying that to him. He was angry twice. One about the microwave. I don't know if the other things to do with the microwave as well, but so it's just lies. Try and make me out to be a bad person when it's really him not being good with me. So there we go. But there we go. Like, that's over now, thank God. But yes, I had to teach him how to do that. And even when he was booking to come and see me, I was telling him like about hotels and stuff and how to book out. He didn't listen. He actually did lie to me in the beginning. He lied to his best friend and he lied to me because he said he booked it up when he first came to see me. He hadn't actually done it yet because he was trying to save money, a few pounds, by asking his friend to give him discount or something. If friend had some sort of way of getting student discount or something. And so instead of like actually booked it like he told me he had, or implied that he didn't. And then he said, and he told me the reason why, but he should never have lied to me, was the fact that he was asking his friend the next day to get him discount. He got the discount to save a bit of money on the bus, then ended up paying over £100 more for the hotel because he didn't listen to what I said and booked it up when he should have done because it was a whole bank holiday he came. So he ended up costing him more of £100. He saved like £4 or something on the bus and ended up costing him an extra £100 more or more in the hotel. And I thought, well, that just that just like it's justice for him lying to me basically. So he shouldn't be lying. Lying's a huge red flag. He lied to his best friend and he lied to me, and it's just not good. I don't usually like liars. Usually if I find out someone's a liar, that's it. I'm like, I can't trust you now, bye. Unfortunately, I got myself emotionally attached to him and didn't say bye to him soon. So yeah, so I have to learn from that. I got too attached to him too quickly and didn't take my own advice. But yeah, so that was answering your question that he got angry about that. And I actually was a red flag. Something, if you're angry about that, which is there's no reason to be angry about a microwave, what else are you going to get angry about? Do you know what I mean? It's like strange, but there we go. So yeah, but anyway, life skills you learn are actually, unfortunately, sometimes, like I said earlier, through adversity, through bad experiences, through things like oh, don't let this happen again, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, in romantic relationships, things can happen. And then he gaslighted me about the fact he was late to video calls. So the first time he was late for our video call, it was by an hour and 10 minutes. And he told me he was asleep and that I should basically forgive him because he was asleep and that's just like a natural thing or whatever. It's, like, yeah. So it's like, I shouldn't think it's a big deal. I was like, well, you could have set an alarm. You knew that we were having a video call. You could have set an alarm. And then I think actually lied about an alarm, saying he did set it, but he put it on silent or something. And then he said he didn't. I think he said he didn't set an alarm. Then he said he did, but he put it on silent or something. And then he said he didn't. I can't remember. It was just like, I shouldn't have stayed with him, really. But the point was, it was. I said you should have set an alarm. I think he admitted he didn't do that. He should have done it. But then he tried to change what he was saying and pretend like he had done that, but it didn't work or something, or I don't, or he just slept through it, or was on silent or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, I said to him that basically it was no excuse. He should have set an alarm because, if you got to be somewhere for someone and you knew we're having a video date, basically, or video call, then, you could have set an alarm. and then you would have been on time. And then he said, oh, that will never happen again. It will never happen again. You know, like, forgive him. It will never happen again that he'll be late, right? And so then another week, he was like late on the Monday, I think it was. But he told me, he goes, I'm just finishing the washing up, so I'm going to be late. I'm like, okay. Then the next day he was late again, and I didn't even know that he was going to be late. So I was there thinking, what's going on? Because I need to get on with my work. If he's not going to show up to a video call, I need to be getting on with work, because usually I would be working, because I work on different timescales to everyone else, because I'm working the night. You know, I do this channel late at night, and I do writing in the evenings and stuff like that. I usually sleep till midday and get up at 4, go to bed at 4 a.m. This does vary sometimes. Sometimes I go to bed at 2, get up at 10. It's usually I get 8 hours sleep naturally a lot of the time, but not all the time. Like, you know what I mean? So if I go to bed later, I wake up naturally later. So I usually work on the time scale. He was like a 9 to 5 job, I think it was. But then by the time I got home, it was 7. Then he would eat his food for an hour. And so the second, so the first, so in 1 week, on the Monday, I think it was a Monday he was late. Then the Tuesday he was late again, and it was only by 7 minutes, but it was really not the point. And I said to him, I said, you know, it's not acceptable for you to be late. I said, it's taking the piss. I actually said that to him. Probably wasn't the best way of phrasing it, but I said, it's taking the piss out of me. I said, it's completely disrespecting my time, you know. And I said, you could have messaged me, but you didn't even do that. And then he goes, well, you're disrespecting me because you're angry. I don't like the fact you're angry, and you're disrespecting me with your tone of voice by being angry with me. And he goes, and I don't want to speak to you now. I got all these things I wanted to say to you and ask you about your day, but I can't do any of it now. It's gone out of my head, and I can't do any of it because you got angry with me and you're disrespecting me. So I'm just going to be quiet now and not say anything. You can do the talking. And this was like how he was for like 2 nights in a row. It was awful. The second night he had a mate, because it's no privacy either, because he actually lived in a room with this guy. So this guy could hear everything he was saying to me. And at one point, this guy came, it was something to do with a birthday, either this guy or a friend of his. And I was on the video call, and he was just looking at his friend, talking to his friend for a while, ignoring me. It was so bad. But basically, he gaslighted me, because I had a right to be angry about the fact he was late. But his response was that I'm angry with you for being angry with me, and you're disrespecting me because you're angry. You've got an angry tone of voice, and you shouldn't be speaking to me like that. And I'm like, I did say, okay, maybe I could have phrased it better, but and sorry if my tone was angry with you, but it's still, you're disrespecting my time, you know. And I tried to stress this, but yeah, he decided to just shut down and not even bother speaking to me, basically. So it was really bad, you know, really bad. And so basically you turn the whole situation on me, from him disrespecting me being late, to me disrespecting him for being angry about him being late. And I said, well, what should I have said instead? He goes, oh, you should have just said, oh, this is it. He said something about, you should have just said, oh, like, why are you late? You know, are you all right? Has anything happened to you? And I'm like, and then he told me in a message later that he wouldn't, even if if he was injured or really sick, he wouldn't bother to message me to let me know he's sick or injured anyway, because he can't even talk in that situation. If he ever gets ill, he just doesn't talk, because he's not able to talk. He's not even able to message. I'm like, well, you need to message me, because I don't even know what's going on in that situation. So it's just absolutely stupid to say to me that, oh, you should be asking if I'm all right if anything's happened to me, when he's already told me he wouldn't even turn up to a call or message me anyway, because if something was wrong with him. It's just like such contradictory mind effing information. It's just not good. Oh my God, I'm glad I don't have to deal with all that stuff anymore. It's just horrible. It's really stressful and not healthy, you know? It's not healthy at all. And I don't like someone who disrespects my time. And he just and his response, when he said, you're disrespecting me and you shouldn't be angry with me, he goes, oh, I don't care if a girl turns up 5 minutes late, quarter of an hour late, half an hour late. It's romantic, he said. And he goes, oh, you've been waiting for your soulmate for all this time. He used the soulmate mind manipulation trick. He goes, oh, you've been you've been looking for your soulmate all this time for a lifetime, and here I am, and this is how you speak to me, or something like this, or this is like, so why can't you just wait some time for me if you've waited a lifetime for me? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're just disrespecting my time. It's not good. It's like, you're not trustworthy. He goes, I'm not trustworthy now? So I'm not trustworthy? Is that what you're saying? Like, I'm such a bad person. Oh my God. Because I say, if you're not reliable, you're not going to be, you're not trustworthy, are you? He's going, so you're saying I'm not trustworthy. Is that what you're saying? I'm like, oh my God. It's like narcissistic behavior, really. It's not good at all, And then he just didn't speak to me basically for 2 days, and just like looked miserable, and talked to his mate in front of me, and barely said anything to me, and I had to do all the talking. It was awful, and then before the weekend that he came to meet me last weekend, he must have known what he was doing. He then turned around and goes, oh, sorry if I haven't been very nice over the last couple of days. I really apologize if my behavior's been off, and I'm so sorry, and forgive me if I've been like made you hurt your feelings and stuff like that. For him to just come down at the weekend and then completely annihilate my feelings by completely lying to me and screwing me over, in terms of the fact that he said, oh, I'll make sure from now on I manage my time better, and download a time management app, make sure you know in advance when I'm coming. Because he wouldn't, I'm like, I need to know in advance if you're going to come to see me, because I need to make plans of my own. He goes, oh, I don't need to book the coach to see you till the day before. I said, that's no good for me, because I need to know if you can definitely come, because it could get booked up. Anyway, I think I've talked enough about him, but it was just not healthy for me. I was getting so stressed and anxiety induced by the end of it. And then he went back home on the coach, having said that, oh, I'll get a time management app, I'll manage my time more effectively with work and with you. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that I did actually offer to move our time of calls in the evening from 8 o'clock till later, so to give him chance of doing things, right? So, but he wouldn't accept that. He's like, no. Because I said, well, why don't we move the time to make sure you can be on time? Like by like from 8 o'clock to say 10 past 8, that gives you time to finish the washing up and stuff. No, not doing that. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of red flag behavior, unfortunately. But I wasn't sure, because he was trying to take things from my fault. I wasn't sure if he was gaslighting, but I'm like, Sandra, I'm sure that's gaslighting when his bad behavior has then been his bad behavior and his shortcomings of not being reliable, of turning up late and thinking that's absolutely fine, I should just put up with it, especially as he's already been late the first time and said he would never happen again. This is just like turning it on me and saying it's my fault, that I'm disrespecting him. I shouldn't be angry with him. I should just accept that he's late whenever he feels like it, he can turn up, basically. Then, you know what I mean? He did say, oh, you can call me. You could have called me. I shouldn't have to call you. I said, well, I'm always calling you. He didn't want to change the time, because then he would he wouldn't have been able to blame you. Yes, I know. Yes. Totally, truly. Totally true, unfortunately. Yeah, he's just, I mean, it's totally unreasonable. If I asked to change the time, he's like, no. Oh, he actually said to me as well something really bad. He's like, oh, so if I'm on time, he goes, so if I'm on time with you, then I'll never ever phone you just out of the blue, like unscheduled. He goes, I'll be on time for you, right? And every time once the calls are scheduled for a certain time, but I will only ever stick to that scheduled call. I never ever call you out that scheduled call time ever again. And I'm like, no, that's not suitable for me either. So it's not like he couldn't do it. It was like blackmail. It wasn't like he couldn't do it. He's like saying, I can do it, but if I do that, then I will not call you at any other times ever. It's just blackmail. It's just such control mind manipulation. Like when I went through Matthew Hussey's Matthew Hussey's got a video about narcissists actually on his channel that anyone can watch. I'm in his Love Life Club, which is a private club, but on his channel. And this guy, this ex I had this year, he ticked every box of narcissism traits. every box. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't want to believe that I'd been with a narcissist again. But yeah, he actually said to me, all right, then I'll be on time, every scheduled time, but then I will never ever call you again. Sounds like he was also drama. I can't read the last word because of what the heart emoji's covering up. Thanks very much, YouTube. Llama, did you say? Oh, sounds like he was also a drama llama. Yes, but he blamed it on me. He said my anxiety is causing the problems. He even said I got a monkey mind. He's going, oh, when I was trying to talk to him, he's going silent treatment. He goes, it's monkey mind. He goes, I'm not thinking negative about our relationship. So why are you? This is your monkey mind. So he's blaming it all on me. And clearly it's not true if he was not having any negative thoughts, because if he wasn't having negative thoughts about our relationship, he would not have behaved the way he did when he last saw me going home from me being with him, and then completely deleting his Facebook account, denying he'd done it. Well, I said you blocked me, so I haven't blocked you. But it seems like he deleted that whole account, which automatically blocked me anyway. And his one of his last words is that Facebook is I live in the real world, you know, pretending that I don't. Like, he lives in the real world because I'm on social media. And he's like, oh, I don't want to like to be on social media or whatever. I'm not usually on here. And it's like, but he told me in the first video date I had with him, I said, are you the type of guy that's happy to be seen on social media with your partner, you know, and post pictures? He goes, oh yeah, I'm like that. So he just lied to me. He lied to me all along, basically. It's just like, but yeah, it was kind of, I actually got a really bad rash up my neck. I've even got a picture of that on my neck from the amount of stress it was causing with him, because in the end, he wasn't hardly texting me like he used to. He wasn't saying he loved me anymore. He wasn't even like planning. It was me doing all the planning to see each other. You know what I mean? And he wasn't even like making plans to see me. I now know he was just plotting all along to basically leave me, because when he was with me in the weekend, I did have another talk to him about the time management. I said, I really need you. It's really important that you do show up on time for video calls with me, because obviously he told me that he wasn't going to change the time. So I said, you know, like, I really need you to sort this out. And he goes, oh, it's really good that you're telling me this, because it's really good for our relationship that you're telling me directly your needs. And I know what to do. So it's not a problem. I'll sort it all out. You can be rest assured in your mind. And then, yeah, and then he did what he did, which was just delete all his whole Facebook account. And then he said, and then I said, I said, you blocked me on Facebook. He goes, I haven't blocked you. I said, you have. Because I saw him on social media, on Facebook, when he left me, and he's usually not on there. He usually only said he came on there for me. And so he's on there a long time. So I knew he was doing something. And so I actually said to him, oh, hi, I didn't expect to see you here. Like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just finding out about some new social media stuff on Facebook and how to use it, because I don't even know how to use it, because I'm not like on social media like you are, basically. And oh my God, this just sounds a complete nightmare. It does sound like a complete drama situation, doesn't it? Like, you know, you can tell why I was very traumatized after that end of that relationship. But he made out it's my anxiety that's a problem, that I've got an anger problem, and that, you know, and that everything's my fault. And that I should have just been fine with him turn up late to video calls whenever he felt like it. It's like, no, actually, I had a right to be angry at the fact you were late to calls and that you didn't even tell me about it. And I was expressing that anger. I wasn't like shouting or anything like that. I was just, my tone of voice was raised a bit. And you know, and I was right to advocate for my needs and the fact that it's disrespecting my time. You know, and I was willing to try and work with him to solve the issue. Do you know what I mean? But he clearly was the opposite of that. And he was blaming things on my anxiety going and my mind, my anxious mind. When before, when he first got with me, he was being really kind about my anxiety, saying, oh, I was anxious before like you. And, you know, I understand. And, you know, I'm here now and everything's going to be fine. We can build trust together and everything like that, you know? So it's just lies. I showed you, didn't I? Something I found last week, or was it the beginning of this week? I found a thing that he wrote. I showed it on another video that it actually said help Sandra with her anxiety and stress and work with her to like make sure she's healthy in that way. I don't know if the healthy is the right word for him to use, but I still thought it was a nice mindset that he knows how to work
in a relationship with someone. So I thought he was a good guy in the beginning, and then all this lot came out, and I'm like, oh my god, he's the opposite. You know what I mean? But yeah, but because he kept blaming me for things, when I first split with him, I did think some of it was my fault. I thought like, oh, it must be my fault, you know, my anxiety. But I'm thinking, but then I learned through Matthew Hussey's Love Life, because I joined that program. It's like, well, someone who's a good person will work with you with your anxiety. They won't purposely try and make it worse. Do you know what I mean? And they actually said that that guy was a bad actor. And that was Matthew Hussey's words. He was a bad actor. Right, because basically he couldn't even keep up for very long the fact that he wasn't even a genuine person. He was just lying. You know, so yeah, but it was just awful. You know what I mean? So it's the worst thing that was the way he left the situation, with making me think everything's going to be right between us. He downloaded an app to manage his time more effectively with me, with work, and with his time in general, because he's not very good at time management in general. I noticed with other things, you know. And I said to him, I said, to me, it's just disorganized. I can't be disorganized like that. I can't be disorganized in my time. I'm good at time management. I'm effective. I can't. Being with him, it would be like going. If I stay with him, it would have been like going backwards, like becoming a worse version of myself, one that's disorganized and bad at time management. I can't do that to myself. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's no good. But it's weird because he said his friends actually didn't understand why I was with him. In terms of, actually, they were more like, they were more thinking that because I'm a best-selling author and I do my YouTube channel and I'm quite well known and stuff, they were more saying like, why on earth would she even want to be with you? Because her levels, they were saying it as a bad way to him, because he told me that, this is his words, he said, oh, they were like more and I don't know what the word was he used. He didn't say advocating for you, but they were more like, I don't know the right word to use, but basically they were more in favor of me than him, as in they couldn't understand why I would want to be with him, because they're like, you're just some Indian guy. Why would a best-selling author who does her own YouTube show and is successful in that way want to be with just an Indian guy like you? That's the type of comments they were saying to him. That's what he told me anyway. That, you know, that was the feedback he gave me from them. So yeah, so it was just horrible, though, making me believe that everything was going to be fine, and then doing the worst thing and deleting our main method of communication, which was Facebook, and then lying about it, pretending he didn't even do that. You know, I said, you blocked me because I didn't. I said, well, you've done something to your Facebook, because I can't no longer see your page or anything. And he's like, oh, I got locked out. I don't know what happened. I got locked out. My sister's got my password from India, and I need that on a phone in India or some garbage. And I'm like, and then he started saying, oh, do you still like being in a relationship with me or something? I said, well, I don't know anymore, because I said I'm not feeling happy anymore. And he's like, oh, well, you deserve to be happy, Sandra. I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And then he's like, oh, and he goes, well, I think if I came to Exeter to live, like, you dumped me in 6 months, so like I'd be without a home, and I'd be out, you know, I'd be without, you know, where would I go? Like, I was, because I actually felt love for him, and I actually did really like him. Obviously, he was no good for me. Then, if he'd have been a good person for me, that wouldn't have been my intention at all. But obviously, clearly, in the end, he wasn't any good for me. He's a liar, and he believed in physical violence as well, if he's right, which he thinks he is. And that was the hugest, biggest red flag. On the last day I was with him, I said, like, I can't, because he was interested in living with me. I said, I can't even see how we could live together. I said, because I have a completely different lifestyle to you, different time schedule. I said, I can't really sleep in front of someone. Like, if when he stayed at my place, I'm like, I can only sleep for 2 hours, you sleep loads. That's not sustainable. And then when he said about the fact, it was on about fighting, like in India they do fighting, if they're and if, like, with him and his mates in India, what would happen is, if they had a disagreement, say he had a disagreement with someone, each person, him and the other person, would get their friends to come. And if they couldn't agree, they then fight, physically smack each other's faces, basically. And he seemed to think this was okay behavior. Like, before we went in, this was in Domino's Pizza, it was talking about the fighting. And he's going, oh yeah, this is like how wars are started. And I'm like, you know, like he was proud of that. And it's like, I like, so you like fighting? He goes, well, yeah, if I'm right. Oh, he was saying like, yeah, if I'm right, then if they're not agreeing with, if we try and sort it out by talking, can't sort it out by talking, then can you see I'm getting like my actual underneath my eye is starting to twitch now because I'm talking about this. Was a minute ago anyway. So yeah, he's basically saying about this fighting and that's how wars are started, like it's some great thing. And he's like, yeah. And I said, so you like fighting? He said, yeah, if I'm right. Like, and they won't like agree with me, then he thinks that's a good thing. And I'm like, oh my God. I said to him, like I said, have you ever fought with any members of your family? And he said, oh, me and my sister fight. I said, what over? They go over the remote control of the TV. He goes, oh, she scratches me and stuff like this with her nails. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, well, if you ever try to fight me, I said, I'd not just be walking, I'd be running away from you. And I said, you know, I don't want to live that type of life, be living with someone who's like that. You know, that's not the type of life I want to live, where they're arguing over a remote control and what's on TV and stuff. I don't want to live that with the guy and live that type of lifestyle. It's not for me. You know, so it's just horrible. I don't like violence. And he was like so proud of that. He's like, oh yeah, that's how wars are started. Like it's some really good thing. I'm like, it's a huge red flag for the fact that he could have easily turned around and hurt me physically. That's it. A lot of the, I've done a course years ago, which is a pattern changing course. We're talking about developing skills. So in 2013, because I had been with abusive guys before, I did a pattern changing course. I went to my doctor and spoke to him, and he referred me to SAFE, which is Stop Abuse for Everyone, which is an organization in the UK. And they do training courses for people who are either in abusive relationships or left abusive relationships. And it was a 14-week pattern changing course, and it teaches you there about all different types of signs of abuse. And a liar, being a liar is one of the types, one of the red flags for being an abuser. It doesn't mean to say there are, but that's one of the red flags. Someone who's a liar, obviously someone who lies multiple times is even more of a red flag. Someone who agrees with fighting, physical fighting, they're like, if they would fight someone else, they could easily basically turn around and fight you physically, you know. So if they're doing that, and how they speak to other people as well, you know, if they are, you know, in a restaurant or anything like that, and they start shouting at the waitress or waiter, that's a huge red flag. All these type of things, you know. And obviously the blurring your own reality, they're not allowing you to have your own needs. You're allowed to get angry, for example. You have a right to protest if you're not being treated well. So that's what I learned in the pattern changing course as well. Because obviously a lot of abusers don't want you to have needs. They don't want you to advocate for your needs and stick up for yourself, and to actually say, you know, I'm angry at the moment. And because, you know, a lot of abusers, they want to take away your needs and you not have any, and make you believe you shouldn't have any, and that you're always in the wrong, you know. And that's what they do with gaslighting and stuff like this, you know. So I learned a lot of skills in that course. But it's always good to remind yourself. But when you're actually in a situation with a person, it's a lot harder when they're trying to convince you so badly that you're the problem. The way they do it is very sneakily, you know what I mean? Yeah, when they try and mind manipulate you into thinking you're the problem, then it's really, really hard to like see clearly, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to cause confusion. But you know, when they said that I you know, like you know, about the fact that they live in the real world, I actually said I like that about you, which to him, meaning that I like the fact he's not all over social media all the time, but he actually doesn't live in the real world, because the previously girlfriend he had before was with me was a person, just an online relationship for about 8 months, and he asked the person to marry him, and he didn't even know the person. He's not even met the person in real life. I mean, it was just an online thing for 8 months, and then he realized she was married with a kid. I mean, how is that living in the real world? It's not even meeting the person in real life. So yeah, and that was on, he used to communicate with that person through social media, basically. So like, being funny about me being on social media, when he said he was fine with it in the beginning, and then, you know, he used to, because I remember he said, oh, I found out afterwards by seeing her profile that she'd actually was married already and had a child. So it's just, and he was the one who asked me to connect on Instagram first of all. It's just I don't usually use Instagram because I have problems with them. I am on Instagram, but I don't usually use Instagram for messaging because very often, and unless I go on my laptop, because my phone doesn't show me messages a lot of the time. There's some sort of problem ever since I've been on Instagram, even if it says my app's up to date. But yeah, so it's just lies. It was absolutely horrible. But yes, very dramatic and very traumatic for me because it triggered a lot of old stuff from the past with ex-boyfriends that weren't good for me either. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. So yeah, it's very, very hard. But my best friend was really worried about me. They were really anxious for me because they knew that that person wasn't being very great to me and that I was unhappy after a while. So yeah, it's not good really. And yeah, I had a traumatic experience with a narcissistic gaslighter years ago, and it's had an impact ever since. Oh, bless you, Lee. It's really difficult, isn't it? I've had like more than one, like my last long-term ex, he was a real bad narcissist. I didn't even know the term narcissist back then. I was with him for a total of 8.5 years. It's really, really bad. Narcissistic abuse, it does stay with you. Yeah. Narcissistic abuse apparently even affects your nervous system. I watched quite a lot of videos, like channels about it, but there's one guy and he explains how it affects you physiologically, like years later. And it's really weird, some of the stuff he says, because it's like so true. And it's like, how do you know that? And narcissistic abuse and trauma is a real thing that does affect you, like in your body and stuff. And it's very hard. And I agree, Lee, it does stay with you, unfortunately. And I didn't, and like this guy completely triggered all that. I really felt like I'd been in so much trauma, even though I wasn't even with him a full month. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, how can the guy do that much damage in that amount of time? But obviously it triggered a lot of old stuff for me as well and brought a lot of old stuff back for me. I'm like, oh my God. Um, and I didn't even want to believe he was a narcissist until I started going to the Love Live class. Well, I think he's gaslighting me, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think he is. Because like he's the one who's late. He's disrespecting my time. This just completely flipped it on me to say that I was disrespecting him for being angry with him and that I should accept him just being late. And then he's trying to say that it's my mind that's the problem. And he's trying to blame my anxiety. And it's like, hang on a minute, you're the one who's disrespecting me and my time who's late, and I have a right to be angry with that. And you think I should just accept it. And in the end, one of the last things he said on the phone is you should have accepted the fact, you should have changed your mind on the fact of me being late, basically. And it's like, what the hell? So basically he was trying to imply that he would still be with me or in the relationship. Like he didn't even end it. I had to end it in text the next day because he didn't have the guts. But he just went off the phone going, "Oh, I got things to do now. I've got food to eat. I've got a job to go to in the morning. You're not being fair to me. You're just thinking of yourself." This is what he said on the last thing to me. And I'm like, and then before he was telling me a few days before, like, "Oh, you just don't think of me, think about yourself, you should be thinking about yourself more." Oh my God, it was an absolute mine like, I think, like, I haven't gone into all this before about all these other things, but it's just like a nightmare. I just Oh, it's just such a nightmare, but I didn't know he was like that. I was quite empathetic and good about my anxiety and all these things in the beginning, but yeah, but he was lying in the very beginning, so I shouldn't have really accepted that, but I did. I should have took my own advice. I really should have done. I thought to myself, had I known all this about him on the dating app before I actually got with him, then I wouldn't have even got with him. Because as soon as someone lies, it's like, I can't trust you now. Bye. Even little tiny things I need complete honesty about, you know what I mean? And he just wasn't being honest. And he values dishonesty, he values dishonesty, he values fighting, he likes the thug life, apparently, he told me. I'm like, "But I thought you didn't like smoking." He goes, "No, but I still like that." I'm like, oh my God. He values, like, well, he obviously clearly doesn't even value a healthy communication or anything. I just like, and I've said before on this channel, he said that he was better looking than me. I think I don't know if you knew that, Lee, but he turned around and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm better looking than you." And I'm like thinking, in his dreams, I actually stuck up for myself on that. I was very proud of myself because I said, Jesus, exactly. I mean, what sort of guy says that to his girlfriend? So when I first started talking to him, he said to me, which I think was probably the actual truth, that he doesn't want other people to know. It's like he said to me, "Do you know, until you talked to me, I didn't feel anyone really cared about me. You're the first person who I felt actually cared about me." This was in the beginning of our relationship. Well, I don't even know if it was before we got into a relationship. He said, "Do you know, the first person who I feel really cared about me?" And then, because I kept saying to him, like I said, he was good looking, he's the best looking guy in the world to me. And I genuinely felt that and thought that at the time, because when I'm in a relationship with someone, I mean, he was exactly pretty much like the type of Indian guy I like. He happened to be my aesthetic look, pretty much nearly spot on, although he did look even younger than I would usually like. He looked even younger than he was, a lot younger than he was, so it took me a while to get used to that. But he was actually 27, but he looked much younger. But he was my aesthetic at the time, and I saw, "You're the best looking guy to me, and in the world to me, better than all the guys in Bollywood." But then it's not difficult because a lot of the guys in Bollywood are quite older. But I told him I did like Baron, who's in Street Dancer 3D. But when I'm with someone anyway, I usually do find them the most attractive because I'm in a relationship with them. It's just the way I am. But I said best looking guy to me. I wasn't trying to be in competition with looks with him, right? And then he said to me, that's when he said to me, "Oh, he came on video camera and started taking his phone out, going, 'I'm better looking than you.'" And I'm like saying, that's really not nice. That's really horrible. I said, "You're the best looking guy in the world to me." Guy, not I'm a girl. I said, we're not in competition with each other. Do you know what I mean? And so you really hurt my feelings, you know what I mean? But not hurt as in the sense I don't know I'm good looking, because I do believe I'm good looking. Like I wouldn't usually, years ago, I wouldn't think that, but I actually like the way I look. So the next day I did say to him, I said, "You know what? You're not better looking than me." I said, "I'm a girl," and I said, "You're the best looking guy in the world to me." I said, "But I'm a girl. I'm not competing with you." And I said, "So you're not better looking than me." You know what I mean? I said, I mean, he couldn't even he told me if he posts a photograph on Instagram, he has to take like 5 minutes to do it just to get the right pose. Probably to him, it was a kind of competition. Well, yeah, it seemed like that was the case, Lee. I mean, but he went from seemingly lacking in confidence to me being like the first person who's actually took an interest in him to saying stuff like that. But then he told me, "Can you do me a favor?" He goes, "Oh, I don't want to hurt you again, so can you not tell me I'm good looking anymore?" He goes, "Because someone who's like a star like you are on your channel, who's like a famous star like you are, telling me that, it's like making me think like I'm a god and like feel like I'm on top of a mountain or something." So he said, "Can you stop telling me that?" But it was weird because if I'm kissing him, it's only natural that I should usually like to tell the guy he's good looking, because I think it's nice if a guy tells me that and I tell him that. So I had to stop myself from doing that a lot of the time. Seemingly being the opera uh, operative viewpoint, did you say? Seeming being the operative. I can't read the last word, unfortunately. Um Yeah, it just was really weird. Like, I'm like, how can you go through saying that I was the one that seemed the only person interested in you, and then all of a sudden you're like, but he clearly can't be that good looking if he's got to spend 5 minutes or more posting a picture to Instagram, because he can't have anyone, you know, seeing him in a pose that doesn't look good, seemingly being the operative word, seemingly lacking in confidence. Yeah, exactly. To me, it's like when I first met him, I thought he was lacking in confidence, because I said to him, "Oh, you don't realize how good looking you are." That's what I said to him. And I like the fact he seemed a really humble guy. Like, he wasn't going, oh, I'm really good looking guy. And he seemed to be really humble. And I really liked that about him. Then I found out he's the opposite. I'm like, but is he really the opposite? Or is he just so damn insecure that he had to put me down? Like, in terms of, like, you know, like my anxiety and stuff and my looks. Is he that that insecure and that, you know what I mean? He's probably like, because narcissists are a lot of narcissists are actually very insecure people, even though they're full of themselves, aren't they? They're absolutely, a lot of them are grandiose and they think they're somebody like amazing, like above everyone else, but actually a lot of them are very insecure people, which is why they have to put others down and belittle them. So yeah, another thing he used to do is make me feel like talk to me like I'm 5 years old. And I stuck up to him that, but that, like, narcissistic people, they don't like you sticking up to them either. They don't like you having needs. So the fact I was advocating for my needs about him not being late to video calls, and also the fact that I did say to him, like, he was talking to me like really like I knew nothing about book publishing and design of book covers, for example. So he was like, this was last weekend I was with him. He's going, the colors of book covers, this, that, and the other. I go, because I sell t-shirts on Redbubble. You can look up my shop, Redbubble/Asexualise, right? And I also sell Asexualite t-shirts on Amazon. I got about 60 designs on Redbubble, right? Most of which all of them are on my own designs, but in the very, very beginning, I used to pay a designer to do a few of them. I think there's only 1 or 2 designs I actually paid a designer when I drew it out for him. But then I've done all the rest, right? And so I also started book publishing in 2015, learning skills. But I actually got someone to do my cover, my redundancy, breakthrough the barriers of redundancy to get back into work, an A to Z how to guide. It's a really good book. It's my first book I ever published, but just in Kindle version. And I got a cover designer to do it for me. And this person worked in London for a marketing agency, right? She was like she worked I think it's a marketing agency, or she was a marketer in the company. But she that was her job, that was her skill. So she taught me about different colorways of graphic design stuff on book covers and what stands out. So I learned all that from her. And obviously, as I publish my own books, and I now do the covers for them myself, and also I usually do the covers for myself, well, at least the ebook, and then the person takes the ebook and does a printed version for me from my ebook design. But this time, Diary Confessions book, I did all myself, including the back cover and everything, and the spine for the printed. So this is all my own work. I love designing covers. And so yeah, so I know what I'm doing, right? And then he was talking to me like I didn't know what I was doing. He's talking about RGB and CYMK stuff, but I said the difference between RGB and CYMK, and he was talking about a different colorway as well, because he's done a bit of design for his dad to do with clothing or stuff. And I said, I do know what I'm talking about. I said, I've been in book publishing for like 9 years. I design my own asexual t-shirts. I do my own book covers, and actually taught by someone who works for a marketing company in London all about colorways. I said, and you're talking to me like I'm 5 years old. Do you know what I mean? I said, you were talking to me like I'm 5, like I don't know anything about this stuff when I do. He's never even published a book in his life. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really weird as well, because when we first got back together, which when you're talking about competition, Lee, when we first got together, he was on about writing books, which he never written by because I was doing it, and then he was on about starting a YouTube channel about, I think it was either travel or it's something to do with like different countries, to do with me and him. I thought you were going to be on my channel. So it's almost like he was trying to compete, thinking about doing a rival channel to mine, or another channel with me on his channel, and doing books as well because I was doing it. So yeah, I think he was like competing with me, but this is just not healthy. Someone who loves someone doesn't want to compete with someone. They want to work as a team to grow together. It's just like really bad. It's really bad. And he clearly didn't have a really growth mindset. He did say to me in the beginning, which was complete contrast to what he said in the beginning, right? Because in the beginning he was like, oh, I had a YouTube channel. It was a gaming channel. He even showed it to me and said, oh, look what could have happened when I look at your channel now and look at my channel and look what could have happened if I'd continued with it and not given up on it. Think where I could be right now. That's what he was in the beginning. So I don't know if he's jealous of what I've done on my channel or what, and wanted to compete in the beginning or what. There you go. He doesn't want you to be the champion in any sphere. Yes, Lee, I agree. Like, it's really, he's really no good for me. It's quite controlling behavior, I think, in the end. You know, like he said, you know, like he even turned around and said to me, which is a really big red flag. Well, there was a couple of other red flags. One of the things he said to me was, "Oh, I know you prefer your work to me. I know your work's more important than me," he said. Yeah, I was the one that was giving up my evenings of a lot of the work I'd usually do to talk to him, because he'd finished his work and he said, "I don't have anything to do in the evenings. I do nothing. I do nothing." He does nothing. So it's not like he couldn't be on time for me anyway, because he does nothing in the evenings. He's like, he used to say to me, I do nothing. I can be whenever you want to video call. I can just let me know, because I can video call them. But it was just a load of rubbish. It's just, oh my God, even talking about it, just stressful, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Oh, sorry. I have to highlight my thing. Yeah, so yeah, he didn't want me to be the champion or excel in any sphere. Clearly not a team player, and clearly didn't want the best for me, did he? You know, it's really not good. And then trying to put me down in the end about the fact I'm on social media, and he probably didn't like my success. I think people who are narcissistic don't like people's success. They people who are like abusive or narcissistic, they get jealous. They don't like to see someone else succeed. Lee said exactly. You know, I was actually giving up my time, my work time, to talk to him. So it was all, actually, I was putting him first more than I probably should have been, to be honest. So yeah, he probably didn't like the fact I was like confident as well, because I don't need to. I don't need to spend 5 minutes deciding on a picture to post on Instagram. I you know, like, I'm glad I stuck up. I said, "You're not better looking than me," and I still don't think he is, because it's like, you have, if someone's good looking, that good looking, and they really truly believe that, they will not have to spend 5 minutes doing the perfect pose to be on social media and to be trying to perfect it, to get it best for Instagram, and trying to manipulate or whatever they're doing. Because when I first met him, he goes, "Oh, everyone's fake on social media. I don't like it." I said, "Well, I'm not fake." He goes, "You know, it takes me like 5 minutes to like get a picture ready to post on Instagram, you know, because I've got to like do things to it." I'm like, I can just click. I mean, like, so when he said about being better looking than me, I'm thinking, one is, he shouldn't even say that. Two is, I'm actually very confident in my looks these days, enough to like, it just hurt my feelings because it's not a nice thing to say. Right? I didn't like, it's not completely destroyed my life from saying that, because I don't actually believe he is better looking than me. I mean, I'm a female. I don't compare me as a female to him as a guy. But I think if a guy is, or anyone is genuinely really good looking, and they truly believe that, they do not have to spend 5 minutes like filtering themselves or putting themselves in the perfect pose for people to like them on social media, or caring what people think. To me, that's a very insecure person who does that, who's not confident, and insecure, unconfident people are actually not that attractive. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone's insecure, underconfident, and actually criticizing someone else and saying that they are better than them. Those traits are just unattractive, right? The whole load of traits. And if you think you're that good looking and you can't even snap a photograph of you and just put yourself on social media like that, or be in the moment and have your hair a bit fluffy like this, or like me, I don't even wear makeup most of the time. If you have to do that and spend 5 minutes perfecting a photograph, you ain't thinking, you're not believing that you're that good looking and better looking than the other people, that you don't really believe it. Because if you did, you wouldn't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I like the way I look. I don't like, there are some photographs occasionally I delete, but most of them I put up. Like, if I'm closing my eyes or I'm really like looking miserable, then I might delete that photograph because I don't like it and I don't think it does me justice. But you know what I mean? It's like, most of the time I'm just like recording and doing this. I'm like, here, I'm ad-libbing, you know what I mean? I'm not worrying like, oh, is my hair a bit minute out of place? Like, sometimes I think, oh my God, my hair's like, my fringe is a nightmare. It goes everywhere. It doesn't go straight. Even if a hairdresser cuts it, it doesn't stay straight for very long. It just ends up all being choppy and going weird. It doesn't go right. And so my fringe, sometimes I do cringe with my fringe, but I still put it out there because I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Hide away for 3 weeks because I've hacked my fringe myself, which sometimes I do, and not talk to anyone? That's going to help no one, right? That's just thinking of myself and being selfish. If I'm thinking, oh God, I can't put myself on social media because my fringe looks like a knife and forks hacked it, which it probably does sometimes. And I'm like, this is not, I do cringe, but I'm like, okay, you can cringe, but you still go ahead and do it. Why? Because you're showing up for people and you're helping people, Sandra. It's not about you. It's not about the way you look. It's about them getting good, valuable content. If they get a bit distracted by your fringe, they do. But if you put good content out there, most of the time they're not even going to be looking at your fringe. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think he would have hampered my success actually. And probably his prediction of me dumping him in 6 months' time if he did come and live in my city probably be it probably been right. Well, I probably wouldn't even got to that stage with him because you know what I mean. He was clearly not a good guy for me in the end. Clearly not good at all, you know. So it seemed like he decided to leave my life, but not fully until I officially ended it with him. Well, he did. Like the next day, I waited to see if he'd text me, and he didn't bother. So I just sent him a text message and ended it officially because I've got the guts to do that. He hasn't even got the guts to do that. It's like oh, he actually told me he's a weak guy as well. He told me I'm weak because when he said that, oh, if I'm sick, I can't message you. I'll be too poorly to even message you or injured to let you know. After he just told me that I shouldn't be angry with him and that I should ask him on a video call, like, why were you late? Like, you know, is there something wrong? Has anything happened to you? And then he tells me, like, another time, like, I don't know, like the next day or something, like, oh, yeah, if I was sick or injured, I wouldn't tell you anyway. It's like, this guy was a mind F. Oh, my Lord. Now I think about it, I was so stressful. I'm like, no wonder you were stressed out, Sandra, in just a few weeks with this guy and anxiety induced. I think anyone would be anxiety induced having to deal with all this stuff. I think I was perfectly valid in being anxiety induced. You know what I mean? I've got an anxiety condition as it is, but when you've got someone like this, it's just a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. But in the end, he was looking around at other people when he was meant to be talking to me. So he just clearly wasn't interested. I told him this. He was still lying and denying it. Even on the phone, I said, you're clearly not interested in even speaking to me anymore. He goes, oh, that's not true. I go, it is true. You're looking around at other people and I'm trying to talk to you. It's really rude. He goes, oh, but it's not true. I said, it is true. Your actions don't match your words. He was even trying to convince me when he was with me that actions and words don't have to match. And of course they have to match. You know what I mean? So... oh, we live and learn, don't we? But yes, so in terms of life skills, what we're talking about on this channel at the moment is we can learn from our past relationships different things as well. And learning life skills, unfortunately, is not always easy. And sometimes we have to go through difficult, rubbish relationships to learn what bad looks like so we can appreciate the good and know what was good more. But, you know, I think that guy really was probably a very insecure guy who was completely lying to me. He's actually not a good friend to his friends as well, because I found out that he said, oh, on social media, because I said, you know, like, it'd be nice if you, like, you know, commented on my YouTube channel sometimes because you say you watch it and stuff. And it'd be nice if you respond on social media to me because I commented once. He goes, oh, I don't even reply to my friends on social media. And before he left my life, he gave me he goes, oh, look, this is a guy in my inbox on Facebook. And I didn't even talk to him for like 2 years ago and he's dead now. So yeah, it's like, but when we have relationships like this that are very difficult, even if they're narcissistic and stuff, we can actually look back and reflect on it and learn things. And these are still valuable life skills that we can take with us. We don't want to be taking like toxicity with us and negativity to new relationships. We want to learn from these things. And we want to have a break. Like I'm on a relationship detox at the moment because I don't want that type of negativity come into a future relationship. And obviously it's quite traumatic going through all that. And like Lee says, it was like a drama llama thing going on. And yeah, he clearly didn't want me to excel in what I do. And he didn't like that at all, you know. So we can learn from these relationships. We can, if I didn't have that bad relationship, I wouldn't be in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club now, improving myself on multiple levels with with confidence, like with meeting new people, with actually learning more about red flags in relationships, learning about attachment styles more, learning what a healthy relationship looks like more, learning about advocating for our needs more. Like I did right to advocate for my needs in that situation, but he wasn't a healthy guy, so that's why he didn't want me to have needs. So, I it's good to like analyze these things and learn from them and understand what's happened and what's going on and be able to like get a better skills and stuff like this. So by having these experiences in our lives, which can be really difficult, sometimes this is how we, unfortunately or fortunately as it might be, learn. And the fact I'm in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club would not have happened had I not had that bad relationship. So even when things go wrong in your life and it might seem like you've gone off track, it can actually put you on the right track that you really need to be on your life, to learn new skills, to grow yourself, to become a better person. And that's what I'm doing now. So I want to say thank you very much for watching tonight. I know I've talked a lot and gone into a lot of other stuff, but I think it's really important. Thank you, Heather, for being here, and thank you, Lee, for being here as well. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to get Diary Confessions of a Hyper Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Taste Your Life. This will help you in your life. So it's very good if you're learning life skills to get these life lessons. This will help you gain new skills just from learning these lessons here. If you want to know more about asexuality, go and grab Asexual Perspectives on Amazon, both bestsellers. And I'll see you soon next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye. Bye.